Hello! Let me move those. Hello, hello, hello. It is a wonderful Sunday. It's also the last stream of 2024, guys. Holy shit. Cannot believe that it is the last stream of 2024. Oop. It is a wonderful day today. Today we are reading chapters 13 to 18. I don't think there's any explicit chapters coming up, if I recall correctly. So, yeah. I also don't think there's going to be any short chapters coming up, but we'll deal with it when we get there. But yeah, so as a refresher for anybody, if you forgot or you're brand new to listening in on these streams, I am doing this because one, the as in a way to refresh my own memory, and two, as a way, one, because it's a way to refresh my own memory, seeing as the third book in the series is being released, in, about 3 more weeks, or 3 more weeks from like Tuesday. So, I'm excited, and also, as a way to just share one of my favorite book series with you guys before the third book is released on the 21st of January. And, as a reminder, if anybody does enjoy listening to me reading these books here on Twitch or on YouTube, I am willing to read the third book officially once I have read it myself. So I will probably be spending that entire week of the 21st reading the third book by myself, and then if you guys liked it, then maybe that Saturday after I will read that third book. But yeah, so I'm excited. Alrighty, so let's see. As a reminder to anybody who is watching this on YouTube, down below in the comment or in the description section is the official timestamps for when I start a chapter to when I end it. So if you don't want to listen to me babble about random shit, or hang out in my be right back during my be right back time, or my break time, then you're more than welcome to click on those times, and it will shoot you straight to the next chapter, or the end of the next chapter. But yeah, so let's get started, shall we? Alright, let's jump on over here. I added my bookshelf, or my tower of books to this scene. I had to. Give me 1 second here. Alright. So, chapter 13. Let's get to that chapter right now. Okay, chapter 13. You wouldn't happen to know how to raise wards, would you? I asked Taryn as we approached Besgaeth from the southeast the next day, squinting into the afternoon sun. The headwind added an extra couple of hours onto the flight, making my hips protest and almost outright rebel. Despite what you may assume, I am not 600 years old. Figured I'd ask, just in case you were holding back secret dragon knowledge. I'm always holding back secret dragon knowledge, but wards are not among it. His shoulders tense, rising slightly, and the beats of his wings slow. We're being ordered to the practice grounds. Carr and Varish are waiting. My stomach plummets, even though our altitude hasn't changed. He threatened he'd be pondering my punishment for not forcing Indarna to participate in maneuvers. Sorry. I should have taken his warning more seriously. Taryn's low growl vibrates through his entire body. What are your wishes? Not sure I got a choice. A deep sense of foreboding crawls into my throat. There is always a choice. He maintains direction, even though he'll have to bank soon to change course to the practice grounds. I can handle whatever he wants to punish me with if it means keeping Indarna safe. We go. An hour later, I'm not sure I'm handling anything as much as I am enduring. Again, Professor Carr orders, his thin white hair flopping with every gust of wind as we stand on the mountain peak we use when training my signet. And to think this is only a warning. Fatigue washes over me again, but I know better than to complain. I'd made that mistake somewhere around strike 25, and it had only added another mark to the tab Professor Carr was keeping in his notebook while Major Varish supervised from his side. Again, Cadet Sorengale, Varish repeats the command, smiling at me like he's simply exchanging pleasantries. Their dragons, Brugan and Solus, stand as far back as possible without falling off the mountain. Taryn had lunged for their necks, snapped, and pulled back with inches to spare around strike 13. It was the first time I'd seen every dragon scurry. Or I've ever seen dragons scurry. Unless you'd rather spend the foreseeable future in the brig. Taryn's chest rumbles in a low growl as he stands behind me, his claws digging into the bare rock of the mountaintop. There's only so much he can do, though. While he's bound by the Empyrean, I have to follow the rules of the quadrant or risk the brig. And I'd rather bring down 1,000 lightning strikes than spend one night locked in a cage at Varish's mercy. When I don't move, Carr sends me a pleading look, his gaze darting to Varish. I sigh, but lift my hands, my arms trembling as I reach for Taryn's power. Then I ground my feet into the mental construct of the archives in my mind, so I don't slip away into the fire that threatens to consume me. Swift and fast, the power rises again, and sweat beads off on my face and drips down my spine, as I struggle to control it. Anger, lust, fear, it's always the most extreme of my emotions that bring on the strikes. It's rage that fuels me now as I summon that sizzling hot energy and release it. Cracking down the open sky, why am I saying down instead of the right word? Ah! Cracking open the sky with another lightning strike that hits a nearby peak. 32. Carr jots it down. There's no care for if I can aim, not a single consideration for mastery or strength. Their only goal here is to wear me down, while mine is to hold on to whatever scraps of self-control I can muster, so I don't wake Indarna. Again, Varish orders. Gods, my body feels like it's cooking itself alive. I reach for the buttons on my flight jacket and yank them open, letting some of the infernal heat escape. Violet? Indarna asks sleepily. Guilt slams into me harder than a lightning strike. I'm fine, I promise her. Waking is dangerous to the growth process, Taryn lectures. Sleep. What's happening? She's alarmingly alert now. Oop. Nothing I can't handle. Not quite a lie, right? I've never seen her produce more than 26 strikes in an hour. Major. She's at risk of overheating and burning out if you continue to push like this, Carr says to Varish. She can take it just fine. He looks at me like he knows. Like he was there at Ressin, watching me hurl bolt after bolt at the wyvern. If he's the picture of control, then maybe I should be glad I don't seem to have any. All it takes is her slipping in her grounding and exhausting exhausting her physically, and she will burn out. Carr warns, his gaze shifting nervously. Punishing her for insubordination is one thing, but killing her is quite another. Sorry. Again, Varish lifts his brows at me. Unless your golden one would like to fly up and say hello, since she failed to appear as ordered. If she joins us, we'll only take you with 3 more. Or task you with 3 more. This is about me? My shoulders drop and my stomach hits the ground. This is an example of what happens when dragons choose poorly, Terran counters. Soulless should never have given this barbarian more power. I don't want to submit her for tests or anything barbaric, Varish cajoles, as though he heard Terran's words. I just want her to understand that she is not above the of command, or the structure of command. I fucking hate him, I tell Terran. I can feel this draining you. I'll come, and Darna starts. You'll do no such thing, or you risk every feathertail in the veil, I remind her. Do you want someone who takes joy in the pain of others like Varish bonding a hatchling? And Darna growls in pure frustration. Terran angles his wings, directing the cooling wind over my scalding skin. Well? Varish asks, tugging his cloak around him so steam rises from as steam rises from my body. Terran snarls. Humans do not command dragons, and that includes you. I lift my impossibly heavy arms and reach for power again. Around strike 40, my knees buckle and I crumple to the hard rock. The ground rushes up at me, and I throw out my hands, sending pain shooting through my left shoulder as the joint partially sublate. What the hell? As the joint partially separates from the impact. My mouth waters from the instant nausea, and but I cradle my left arm and force myself to my knees just to take the weight off the joint. Extending his neck, Terran roars so loudly at Varish and Carr that the notebook blows out of Carr's hands and tumbles down the mountain, vanishing from sight. Silver One is done, he shouts. They can't hear you, I remind him, breathing through the pain. Their dragons can. If she dies, you will summon the wrath of not only General Sorengale, but General Melgren. Her signet is the weapon generals dream of in this war. Carr glances between Varish and me, and if that's not enough to encourage a degree of caution, Vice Commandant, then remember her death will cost you 2 of the most powerful dragons on the continent and Lieutenant Ryerson's irreplaceable ability to wield shadows. Ah, yes, that pesky mating bond. Varish clicks his tongue and cocks his head to the side, studying me like I'm nothing but an experiment for him to play with. One more, just to prove that you can listen to orders if your dragon will not. Silver One, I can do it. I stumble to my feet and pray my shoulder will hold if I tuck my elbow in tight to my body. For Darna, for the other hatchlings protected in the veil, I can do it. My muscle shakes and cramps, and my shoulder screams as though this is a dagger in the joint. As if there's a dagger in the joint. But I raise my palms and reach for Terran's power anyway. I make the connection and let the energy flood through me one more time. I wield and lightning crashes. But my arms cramp as the strike hits the nearest peak, the muscles twisting and bunching in an unnatural way, causing me to physically hold the power I usually release right away. Fuck, I can't let it go. Silver one! Terran shouts. Power lashes through me, extending the strike, which cleaves a section from the northernmost ridgeline ahead of me. The rock crashes down the mountain's slope, and still the lightning flows like an incandescent blade, cutting away the terrain. I can't move, can't drop my hands, can't even twitch my fingers. This is going to kill me. Terran, Sagael, Zayden, it's going to kill us all. Fear and pain roll into one, seizing my mind with the one emotion I can't afford, panic. Cut it off mentally, Terran bellows as the strike goes on, and in the distance I hear Andarna cry. My very bones catch fire, and a scream rips from my throat as I shove mentally at the doors to my archives. The strike ends, and I stagger backwards, falling against Terran's foreleg and crumpling between his talons. Every breath is a struggle. Carr swallows hard. We're done for the day. I couldn't stand if I wanted to. Barish examines the destruction I caused and turns towards me. Fascinating. You'll both be indispensable once you've come to heal. He turns his cloak billowing in the wind as he walks to Solus. This is the only warning you'll get, Cadet Sorengale. The threat hits like a punch to the stomach, but I can't think around the blistering heat. Carr hikes over, then puts the back of his hand against my forehead and hisses. You're burning up. He glances at Terran. Tell your dragon to carry you directly to the courtyard. You won't make it from the flight field. Get food and a cold bath. There's something suspiciously close to sympathy in his eyes as he looks me over. And while I agree that we do not command dragons, perhaps you can talk Andarna into making an appearance? You are a rare, powerful signet cadet, Sorengale. It would be a travesty to use your training sessions in this manner again. I am not a signet, I'm a person, but I'm too damned hot, too tired to make the words form. Not that it matters. He doesn't see me that way. Carr never has. To him, we are the sum of our powers, and nothing more. My chest heaves, but even the cool air of the mountaintop can't touch the burn sizzling in my veins. Terran wraps his claws around me, securing a talon under each arm to lock my limp body into position. Then launches, leaving Carr beneath us on the peak. We're airborne in an instant, or maybe it's an hour. Time has no meaning. It's all just pain, beckoning me to let go, or to release my soul from the prison of my body. You will not let go, he orders as we fly towards Basgiath, moving faster than I've ever felt him go before. The air rushes by, feels so damned good, but it's not enough to reach the furnace in my lungs or the molten marrow of my bones. Mountains and valleys pass under me in a blur before I recognize the walls of the quadrant. But Terran blows by the courtyard, then plummets to the valley below. The river, water, cold, clear water. I've already called for support. My stomach lurches as he pulls up to a hover at the last second, my body swaying from the change in momentum. Hold your breath. It's his only warning before water covers me from head to toe, gushing with bone-crushing force, icy from the last of summer's runoff. The contrast threatens to crack every part of me, to peel me away layer by searing layer. I've lived with pain my entire life, but this is agony. But this agony is beyond my capability to endure. Soundlessly, I scream, air gushing from my lungs as I dangle from Terran's claw, the water forcing the heat from my body, saving me with the same pummeling blow that tears at my skin. Terran yanks my head above water, and I gasp for breath. Almost there, he tells me, holding me in the rapids. The water beats at me mercilessly, but lowers the temperature of my body until the last of the flames in my bones extinguishes. Violet! Someone bellows from the shoreline. My teeth chatter at as my pulse slows. There, Taryn walks to the bank. I hadn't ever realized he'd been standing in the river with me, and and deposits me in the long summer grass beneath the row of trees that grow along the Iacobos. Whew. I lie limp, fighting for the energy to take my next breath as my heart beats slower and slower. Summoning all my energy, I force my lungs to expand to draw in air. Violet! Imogen calls out from somewhere to the right, then falls to her knees beside me a moment later. What the hell happened to you? Too many strikes. A rough blanket lands on my shoulders as I shake, water dripping from my nose, my chin, the unbuttoned edges of my flight jacket, which miraculously made the trip too. Bone-shattering cold has replaced all the heat, but I'm breathing normally again at least. Oh shit! Bodhi settles at my other side, reaching for my shoulders, then retreating. You're so red! That's Aya, I think. Blaine says it's burnout, Imogen says, her hand surprisingly gentle on my back. Taryn called for her. What do we do, Violet? You're the only lightning wielder I know. I just need... I twist to the side, my legs curling under me, the words punctuated by the chatter of my teeth against one another. A minute. I look up at the trunk of the familiar sprawling oak tree in front of me and concentrate on holding myself together. Kier says she needs food now and that she's cooled down. Bodhi adds. A green would know, Aya says with certainty. Food it is. How did this happen? Imogen asks. Car? I nod. And Varish. Bodhi's warm brown face appears in front of mine. Fuck. He tugs the edges of the blanket closed around me. This is because of Andarna. Yes. Give me 1 second. Sorry. The pages are sticking together. There we go. I don't know why. Bodhi's eyes widen. Are you fucking kidding me? Imogen's voice rises. He used your signet as a punishment for Andarna not showing for flight maneuvers. That asshole, Aya seethes, shoving a hand through her dark hair as she exchanges a look with Bodhi. After a minute, I find the strength to hold the blanket myself. At least my muscles are working again. Longing rips through me as I stare up at the tree, its wide trunk, which I know bears the scars from 2 knife marks. I want Xaden. It's illogical. He couldn't have stopped Varish. I don't need his protection. I don't need him to carry me back to the dorms. I just want him. He's the only person I want to talk to about what happened on that mountain. I think we need to get her back to the dorms, Imogen says. I'll handle it, Bodhi promises, capturing my gaze. This won't happen to you again. Tell the humans that I will handle dragon matters, Taryn says. How? You will trust me. It's an order. Taryn says he'll take care of it. I rock forward and force myself to my feet. Bodhi catches my shoulders gently, wincing when I grimace. I'm ready. Let's go. Can you walk? He asks. I nod, looking past him to the tree. I miss him, I whisper. Yeah, me too. No one carries me. They simply stay at my side, step by step, as we make our way to the hundreds of stairs that spiral through the foundation walls and back to the dorms. Our footsteps the only sound breaking the silence around us, because no one wants to say that what we're all thinking. If Andarna doesn't show up at the next formation, Varish's second punishment might just kill me. You get your running landing yet? Imogen asks on Friday. Stallone is thrown to the mat again, and we wince from the side of the gym, our backs to the wall so no one can sneak up behind us. Sloane's back, it has none of that protection, and is going to be black and blue tomorrow. Unlike Rhiannon, who's in here leading the extra sparring time she negotiated for all of our squad's first years against some others from Third Wing, Imogen and I are here in full uniform between classes for only one reason. Sloane, and her terrifying lack of skill. We were hoping to see that she improved over the week. She hasn't. Tyrion won't let me out of the saddle, I say quietly, like he isn't constantly in my head since my near burnout on the mountaintop. I heard that, he grumbles, only because you're listening. When shifting my weight doesn't help, I take a step off the wall and to relieve the pressure on my tight red skin. At least the physical remnant of my near burnout has dimmed to nothing more painful than a sunburn. But it's annoying as hell. Strengthen your shield and perhaps you won't require monitoring. Not completing maneuvers? Refusing to bring Andarna to class? Imogen gasps with mock surprise. Aren't you just becoming the little rebel? Her gaze darts over my face, then drops to my neck. Your friends still think you lost control during a training session? I nod. If they knew what really happened, they wouldn't leave my side. You'd be safer, she notes. They wouldn't be. End of subject. Keep your eyes on your opponent, Rhys shouts at Sloane from the sidelines, just as Sloane does the opposite, glancing down as she nears the edge of the mat, and that's all her opponent needs, the first year landing a jaw-cracking punch that sends Sloane spiraling. Imogen and I both flinch. This is sparring, not a challenge. This is sparring, not a challenge. Come on, Thomas. Rhys snaps at a squad leader from the second wing. Sorry, Rhys. Pull it back, Jake. Or Jack. I think it's Jake. Or Jace. I don't know. These names are weird to pronounce. The squad leader chides. Damn. Imogen shakes her head and folds her arms. I get that, I think it's Jace. I don't know, Jace. Jace channeling some serious anger, but I've never seen him hit that hard. Jace? Like, naval Jace? The second year from Third Wing, Jacinia and I saw hauled away by Markham was listed on the death roll a couple of days ago. That's his younger brother on the mat. Imogen says, shit. Now I feel bad for the guy, even though Sloane is in a similar situation. I think Markham had him killed, I whisper. Because he didn't return a book on time? Imogen's eyebrows raise. I think he asked for something he shouldn't have. And yes, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but there's no other explanation for him being found in his room, beaten to death. Right. Imogen muses. That only makes sense if he's one of us. To others, it fits in with what Panchek is calling a particular brutal start to the year. I'm the only one in our group who hasn't had another attempt made on their life. You'd better be really careful around your little robed friend if scribes are running out there ordering the deaths of writers. Jacinia isn't a threat, I protest, but my words die in my throat as I remember... As I remember what it was, her report, that it was her report that got Jace taken in the first place. Let's end it. The squad leader from Second Wing suggests after Sloane gets knocked to the mat again. I'm fine, Sloane staggers to her feet, wiping blood from her mouth with the back of her hand. Are you sure? Rhys asks, her tone implying it's absurdly the wrong decision, which we all know it is. Definitely. Sloane takes a fighting stance against Jace. Glutton for punishment, that one, Imogen says. It's like she wants to have the shit kicked out of her. I don't understand. Ark shifts ahead of me, his back blocking the view, and I maneuver to see the mat. I thought everyone marked was trained to fight. Depends on where you were fostered, Imogen moves forward with me. And after Xaden started to climb the ranks, well, some of the families in charge stopped training us. According to what I'm hearing from the first years. Good thing she wasn't on the challenge board this week. Jace puts Sloane on the mat for what feels like the 100th time, then brings his knees to her throat, making his point. If this were real, she'd be in a world of trouble. Her first is on Monday, and she's going to have her ass handed to her, if not worse. I unsheath a dagger and flip it. Catching it by the tip, like my skills can be in any way like my skills can in any way help her when she won't even speak to me. Monday, Imogen turns slowly to look at me. And how do you know that? Shit. Well, it's not like she isn't already holding almost every secret that could get me killed. Long story, but a book my brother wrote. Who is Stallone up against? She pivots back towards the mat. You're not going to ask what the book I shouldn't about the book I shouldn't have? No, I, unlike some people, don't feel the need to know everything someone else deems private. I scoff at the obvious dig. Yeah, well, you're not sleeping with me. You wish you were my type. I'm phenomenal in bed. Her nose scrunches when Sloane face plants to the mat. Seriously, who is she against? Someone she can't beat? A first year from third wing who moves like third wing who moves like she's been sparring since birth. It had taken me the better part of an hour to find someone who could point the girl out earlier in gym. I've offered to help her, Imogen says quietly. She won't take it. Why the hell not? I catch my knife, flipping it with total muscle memory. Imogen sighs. No fucking clue, but her stubbornness is going to get her killed. I watch Liam's sister struggle under Jace's weight. Her face splotchy and red from the exertion, and blow out a slow, resigned breath. My fist closing around the hilt of my dagger. The unspoken rule of the quadrant is to let the strong weed out the weak before they can become a liability to the wing. As a writer, I should walk away. I should let Sloane rise or fall on her own merits, but as Liam's friend, there's no way I can stand by and watch her die. Not on Monday, she won't. You suddenly developed Melgren's signet over here? Imogen retorts, tucking a chin-length strand of pink hair behind her ear. I'm calling it, Rhys shouts, ending the match, and I breathe a sigh of relief. Not exactly. Glancing around the gym, I locate Sloane's opponent for Monday. I just need to do a couple of things after physics. But I'll see you for our gym session tonight. What muscles I have are all due to Imogen's dedication to torturing me at the weight machine since last year. How is that class going for you anyway? Imogen asks with a sarcastic smile, damn well knowing that I couldn't make it through without Rhiannon's help. Where was I? Sorry, I might lead our year in history, geography, and every other subject that crosses over with the scribes, but physics, not my specialty. Hey, Vi! A hand curls over the top of my shoulder from behind me, and my heart surges, beating painfully in my ears. Not again. Muscle memory takes over as I spin around, dislodging the grip and push my left forearm against the leather-clad chest, catching the assailant off balance and allowing me to shove him the few inches backward into the wall while whipping my dagger to his tattooed throat in one instinctual motion. Hey, hey! Riddick's eyes bulge as he throws his hands up, palm outward. Violet! I blink quickly as the knot in his throat bobs, scraping the edge of my blade. Riddick? It's not an assassin. It's just Riddick. Adrenaline pours into my system, and my hand trembles slightly as I lower the weapon. Sorry, I mumble. For nearly dissecting my jugular? Riddick sidesteps before lowering his hands. I knew you were fast, but damn. Mortification deprives me of words as heat rushes into my face. I nearly slit my friend's throat. Somehow I find the sheath. You should know better than to sneak up on someone, Imogen lectures, her calm tone at odds with the knife she clutches in her left hand. I'm sorry, won't do it again, he promises, his gaze shifting to worry as he glances over my shoulder. I just figured I'd see if you wanted a walk to physics. Sawyer's already at the door. Everything all right? Rhea asks, walking to my side as she slips her satchel over her shoulder. All good, Imogen answers. You're doing a great job as squad leader, by the way. It was a good idea to get the first year's extra sparring time. Thanks? Imogen, Rhea stares at Imogen like she's grown a second nose. Seeing you tonight? Imogen sheaths her knife and looks at me with more understanding than I want either of us to have as she backs away. I'm going to offer my help to Mari again. I nod. You sure everything is good? Rhiannon asks as I pick up my pack from the floor and nearly drop it with my jitters. Fucking stupid fucking adrenaline. Perfect. I force the fakest smile known to humankind. Let's go to physics. Yay, physics! Rhea exchanges a look with Riddick. She's probably just nervous about the quiz, and I didn't help by startling her like a jackass. He rubs the skin of his nose as we start toward the door, where Sawyer waits. Rhiannon's mouth drops open for a second. Violet, I thought you said you had it down. We could have studied again this morning. I can't help you if you don't tell me you need help. That isn't that the truth? Just remember, you need 2 out of 3 elements when pulling any flight maneuvers. She recites as Sawyer takes a bite out of an apple and opens the gym door for us. Velocity, power, or... Scan the first floor of the academic wing as we walk down the hall, my gaze scoring every alcove, every classroom door, for someone who might jump out at us. Violet? Wrenching my focus from the stairwell ahead, I find Ree giving me an expectant look. Right. She's asking me about physics and aerodynamics. Altitude, Sawyer answers. Right, I nod as we step into the stairwell. Altitude. You're killing me, Rihanna starts. Now! Someone shouts from behind. Before I can react, a bag is thrown over my head, and with one breath, I'm unconscious. Woo! Alrighty. That's the end of chapter 13. So, in a bit, we're going to take a quick little break here, guys. Yeah, we're going to take a quick little break here, and we will be back in a little bit with chapter 14. Alright. Sorry. I just ate a piece of chocolate that had caramel in it. I had to drink something. Alright, let's see. Alright. Let's get into chapter 14, shall we? Ow. Alright, chapter 14. I jolt awake as the scent of something acrid fills my lungs, and I swing my fist, knocking a hand away from my face, smelling salt, away from my space, smelling salts. She's up, a woman in dark blue announces, backing away to confer with Professor Grady. My head buzzes as I sit up, stretching my legs in front of me, and immediately reach for Taryn. What's going on? My eyes are slow to adjust to the bright light, but it looks like we're in some sort of forest. The course humans wouldn't have to take if they would simply stay seated, known as RSC, he growls with surprising frustration, like he's the one who'd just been drugged and dragged out of the quadrant. Rhiannon, Sawyer, and Riddick are on my right and looking as confused as I feel. To my left are 4 second-year riders with second squad, flame section, second wing second wing designations, looking around the forest in bewilderment. Nice to see we aren't the only ones befuddled. At least it's not an assassination attempt. If it was, we'd be dead, especially as fuzzy as I feel. It will be if we aren't back at Bezgaeth when Sagail arrives tomorrow. Oh shit. This can't last longer than a day, can it? If it does, you should fly back alone. Across from us sits 2 groups of 8 infantry cadets. If their blue uniforms are any indication, in hushed conversation, they're all, homogeneous. There we go. The 4 men all have the same military short haircut, cropped close to their skulls in a fade, and the women wear their hair slicked back in tight buns. Same dark blue uniforms, same boots, same everything. Only the name tags above their hearts are different, except for the one with a squad leader designation on their shoulder in each group. The 4 of us are all dressed in our summer uniforms. Ooh, excuse me. But we've each made our own modification. My lightweight black top has slits down the front that give me direct access to the dagger sheathed in my armor at my ribs. Rhiannon prefers a tunic with sheaths directly sewn in. Sawyer likes his sleeves short, weapons strapped to his upper arms, and Riddick never took the time to see the uniform tailor. He just ripped his sleeves off. We aren't even wearing name tags, and the same goes for the squad from Second Wing. And leave you to fend for yourself? The forest floor is soft and muddy in patches, and the afternoon sun streams in between the branches at an angle, which means we've only been unconscious for an hour. Maybe 2 at most. It's nothing but trees as far as I can see. I think that's the point. I blink, fighting to bring my brain into sharper focus. Promise me, if I'm stuck out here on land nav, that you'll see her if you can. We can't be that far from Bezgaeth. Professor Grady hands each rider a water skin. Sorry for the abrupt change in scenery. Hydrate. We all uncork our skins and drink. The water is crisp and cold, but there's something else there too. Pungent, earthy, and something bittery floral that I can't quite place. I close the skin, cringing at the aftertaste. Professor Grady really needs to take better care of his skins. You all right? I ask Ree, who is checking her sheaths for weapons. A little dazed, but yeah. You? I nod, running my hands down my sides to make sure my daggers are exactly where I left them. They are. My bag is still strapped to my back, too. They took us in the stairwell. I look over to see Sawyer rubbing his temples and Riddick scratching the tattoo on his neck. That's my last memory, she nods in agreement, studying the squads next to and across from us. Anyone know where we are? Sawyer asks the obviously more alert infantry squads. The cadets look over at us, but no one answers, or speaks at all. I'm going to take that as a no, Riddick drawls. It's a no from us, the rider from Second Wing, with the squad leader designation, lifts his hand in greeting. Do you know where I start to say toward Terran, but that usually crystal clear connection is muffled, like someone has thrown a blanket over it. Panic clenches my heart as I realize the same is true for Andarna, though I don't risk waking her with the questions. I can't reach Terran. Ree's gaze snaps to mine, and she cocks her head to the side. Shit, fear either. It feels like something is smothering the connection, Sawyer finishes. I set the water skin down next to me, and the others catch on, doing the same. What in Dune's name did we just drink? We're blocked out, a rider with the shoulder-length, dark blonde hair, or dark blonde braid whispers. Breathe, Maribel, the squad leader orders, shoving his tan hand into his dark curls like he might actually benefit from the suggestion a little more. It can't be for long. Riddick's hands fist. This isn't right. I don't give a shit if it's for the course we're not supposed to be cut, or if it's for the course, we're not supposed to be cut off from them. Thomas? Rhiannon asks, leaning forward to look past me. Hey, Ree, the squad leader waves. This is Brisa. He points to a woman with a shaved head, rich brown skin, and an observant, quick, moving gaze, and she gives us a curt nod. Maribel. He swings his finger to the blonde with pronounced flight goggle lines in her pale cheeks and a fire wielder patch on her shoulder, and she waves. And Cohen. He finishes, the rider closest to me with a fast smile, short black hair, and warm russet brown skin, lifts his hand in greetings. Hi, Rhiannon nods. This is Sawyer, Riddick, and Violet. The pleasantries are cut short as Professor Grady marks something in a folder and clears his throat. Now that you're all awake, welcome to the first joint land navigation exercise. He pulls 2 closed maps from the folder. In the last 2 weeks, you've been taught how to read a map, and today you'll put those skills to use in a practical setting. Were this an actual operation with the makeup of an outpost, this unit would consist of the composition you see here. He steps away from a woman who must be an infantry professor, revealing 2 cadets in pale blue sitting beside a scribe. The hood is down, and they're wearing cream pants with a cream hooded tunic, not robes. But that's definitely a scribe. Riders and infantry are for fighting, a scribe to record the event, and healers for the obvious reasons. He motions them forward, and all 3 move to stand at the end of the infantry lineup. The infantry professor, wearing captain rank, walks up and stops beside Professor Grady with impeccable posture. Cadets, rise, she says. The infantry squads practically jump to their feet, immediately standing at attention. I draw back slightly, surprised at my first instinct, which is to tell the infantry captain to fuck off because I don't answer to her. No rider does. Professor Grady glances our way and nods. The 8 of us stand, but we're not even at ease. We just are. The infantry captain looks at us and barely refrains from rolling her eyes. This is the shortest course you'll be conquering together this year, so try to get to know one another. 4th Wing, you're attached to 4th Squad. She looks around, and one of the cadets directly raises her head, raises his hand. And second wing, you're attached to second squad, just to make it easy. A cadet raises her hand raises her hand on the left. Your objective is to find the location marked on the maps and secure it. Once you do, you'll be extracted. It can't be that easy. Professor Grady holds out the maps, and Rhiannon steps forward, taking both and handing one to Thomas. One of the infantry cadets starts to step forward but stills. 2 maps, Professor Grady says. 2 teams, but one cohesive unit. You're not used to working together. We weren't even warned. You're not used to working together. You weren't even warned you would be. But keeping Navarre safe requires teamwork together. The segment between the requires teamwork between the segments of our military. There are times in our careers when you'll need someone you can trust in the air or on the ground, and those bonds are forged here at Bezgayev. He looks between our groups. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon? My stomach fonders. Terran won't see Sigale unless he honors my request and leaves. And me. I'll miss the few hours Aiden is here. It'll be another week until I can see him. The disappointment hurts more than it should. Just find the extraction point and secure it. That's our mission, Sawyer asks, eyeing the map, like it might bite him. This is not his strongest skill, for certain. No problem, Riddick puffs out his chest. Oh, right, Professor Grady replies. You see, we have to level the playing field a little bit. Infantry has been doing land nav since their first year. So naturally, they might be a little better at it than you. Riddick stiffens. The infantry cadets smirk. And you might notice that none of you 8, Professor Grady looks us over, has the ability to fully communicate with your dragons. Which is bullshit, Riddick says at full volume. A woman on the infantry side gawks. It is, Professor Grady agrees. It's not something we do lightly either. And your dragons loathe it just as much as you do. You've all been dosed with a particular mixture of herbs that dulls not only your connection, but your signet as well. As frustrating as it is, we're actually pretty proud of the concoction. So, let us know if you feel any side effects. Besides you cutting off the most important bond we have, Bree argues. Precisely, Professor Grady replies. I reach for my power, but only a tingle fills my fingers. Gods, I feel vulnerable. And it fucking sucks. My mind flies over what the mixture could possibly be as the 2 professors walk between our groups. When Grady reaches the end of our section, he turns, moving backwards. Oh, and did I mention that there are 2 groups of you out here? The other is on the far side of the forest, and while your dragons will be hunting them, their dragons are hunting you. A few unbondeds joined, too. The fuck? My stomach hollows. Almost every infantry cadet looks faint, and one wobbles where he stands. Infantry, the riders are going to need to learn to lean on your land nav expertise, but you won't live without them should you encounter a dragon. Grady looks the 8 of us in the eye, and as he backs away. Try and see that most of them make it out of here, will you? He flashes a grin and turns away. Walking into the forest with the infantry professor, leaving us in the middle of the fucking woods without supplies or our dragons. We stare at the infantry squad. The infantry squad stares at us. The healers look comically uncomfortable, as the scribe already has a notebook out, pencil at the ready. Well, this should be a good time had by all, Riddick mutters. Did he insinuate that we could die? The smaller of the healers asks, his olive skin paling. Piss off the dragons and find out, Sawyer replies. You'll be all right. I look for his name tag. Dyer? I offer him a smile as I pass on my way to the scribe. Soft red hair frames a creamy white face, almost overcome with freckles, as the short woman blinks up at me with an even shorter brown lash. Aofi? They drag scribes into RSC? Hi, Violet. I'm currently the first in my year training for the field, and not to be and not to be an adept, she says. You're the most powerful writer in yours. Dyer and Calvin are the best in their years, she shrugs. Naturally, they built the strongest teams first. Riddick grins. So you're saying we're the team to beat? Something like that. The scribe fights back a smile. Then let's make sure we don't get beat, Rhiannon says before turning her attention to the map. Thomas, what do you think? He hands a map to Barisa and consults on Rees. 2 hours and several arguments with the infantry later, we're 4 miles from our starting location with another 6 to go. Rhiannon and Riddick examine our map, which marked where we'd been dropped and our extraction point, but didn't label our location. Discussed a route with Thomas, made sure we all saw it, and then handed it over to the infantry to agree on a route before we started walking. I'm telling you, we're in the Parchilli Forest, Cadet Asshole, otherwise known as Calvin, argues with Rhiannon a few steps ahead. He's actually gone about 15 minutes without reminding us that he's their ranking officer, so I'm sure we're due any minute now. That map doesn't resemble any I've ever seen for Shedrick, which means we could be headed the opposite direction we should be. None of these landmarks match. And I think you're wrong, Rhiannon counters, keeping her tone even. I think we're in the Haddon Woods, Aofi says, holding her journal closely. Ugh. She already has 3 pages of notes taken. It's the only forest close enough to bring us all by horse, since I doubt your dragons flew us in, I add. It's also the only forest close enough for Terran to stay behind and see Sigale without causing either of us pain from the separation. Their squad leader is the infantry equivalent of Atos, Riddick mutters from my right side. I nod, but keep from chuckling. Cohen throws his head back on Riddick's right, and doesn't bother suppressing his laugh. Guess Dane's reputation carries across the wings. Who is Atos? Cadet Quiet asks from Aofi's left. It's the first time the curvy brunette has spoken in hours, but her brown eyes are constantly moving, taking in our surroundings. I would bet that she's tied with Brisa, who is convoying our flank with Thomas and Sawyer, for most observant in the group. One of our wing leaders, I answer, kind of like your battalion commander. Oh, she nods as Rhiannon and Asshole continue arguing ahead of us. You guys function in sections, right? Yep. The landscape hasn't changed. The forest is mostly flat, with a few rolling hills that have been easily scalable. But the heat, damn, it's stifling. I tied my uniform top around my waist about an hour ago, leaving me in my armor. I have no idea how Aofi is surviving with her hood up, but she hasn't removed it. Squad, then section, then wing. What do we do if we come across a dragon? She asks. First, we choose a sacrifice, Riddick says, and then we offer it and run. Her eyes flare wide. Don't be an asshole, I elbow him in the arm. Depends on the color, but a good rule of thumb is to lower your eyes and back away, I tell the infantry cadet. But we can usually hear them coming. Then prepare to be digested, Cohen adds. Oh gods, the brunette whispers. You are now my favorite year mate. Riddick throws an arm over his shoulder. Can I see your map? Brisa asks from the rear of the formation. Don't you have your own? Calvin retorts. Rhee's head whips towards him. Give it to her or I cut it out of your hands. He glares at Rhee, but passes it back so he can get it to Brisa. Gods, the grass is high. It's nearly up to my waist in the places where the trees don't shade. Sorry. Woo! Let me start that over. Gods, this grass is high. It's nearly up to my waist in the places where the trees don't shade the ground. I step onto the uneven knob and my ankle rolls. Riddick grabs a hold of me before I can fall, then studies me without a word as we continue the climb. Thank you, I say softly. Are your knees wrapped? Riddick asks, concern lining his forehead. I nod. Yep. Didn't do the ankles, though, since I wasn't exactly expecting a hike. I have cloth if you need to wrap something, Dyer calls out from behind us. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you, I answer. A guy behind me asks, Are all scribes this quiet? It's my job to record, not participate, she answers. Not participating will still get you eaten by a dragon, he argues. I assure her, my eyes never leaving his. I'd never let a scribe get eaten by a dragon. Rhiannon's voice rises as the argument ahead of us heats. Because there's no way in hell they hauled us out of our rooms and brought us that far in 4 hours. Because your dragons can't fly that quickly, Calvin is about an inch shorter than Rhee, and has no problem glaring up at her. Because our dragons wouldn't carry you, dumbass, Riddick responds. Aoife snorts and Maribel laughs, flanked by the rest of the infantry squad behind us. Calvin turns and levels a look at Riddick. Have some respect for the rank. He taps his shoulder where there's an open triangle embroidered beneath 2 oak leaves. Your rank means exactly jack and shit to me. What, like you're so above us infantry? Calvin counters. I mean, technically, when we're flying, we're above everyone, Riddick argues. But if you're asking if I'm better than you, then the answer is obviously yes. I sigh and watch Calvin's hand just in case he decides to go for the short sword sheathed at his side. It's not a bad weapon, but they all carry them. There's no variation for height or speculation. It's also uniform. Then again, we were pulled straight out of the hallway, so it's not like Riddick is carrying his preferred bow. Sawyer and Rhiannon are missing their favorite swords, too. Stop pissing him off on purpose, Rhiannon says, glancing back at Riddick as we start trudging up another hill. Maybe this one will give us a better vantage point than the last. We're going to need fresh water, or this is going to get ugly fast. Riddick grins. But it's so much fun. She arches a brow. Fine. He puts his hands up. I'll let him maintain his delusion of grandeur. Oh, so you listen to her? She's my squad leader. You're not. So you only respect Rider squad leaders? Calvin prods. Aoife furiously writes in her notebook. Shut it, Calvin, a cadet from behind me says, with more than a little exasperation. You want my respect? Earn it. Riddick shrugs. Cross the parapet, climb the gauntlet, survive threshing, and then we'll all be on equal footing. What? Like we don't go through some shit in the infantry quadrant? Someone behind us challenges. See her? Sawyer says, and I swear I can feel him pointing at me. She bonded not only one of the biggest fucking dragons on the continent, but a second dragon, and then went into combat against the Griffins a couple of months ago, and came out alive. You go through that kind of shit in your quadrant? The cadet around us falls silent. Even Aoife's pencil remains poised above her notebook as she stares at me. Awkward. And wrong. No one in our little group knows what we're really against out there. And my silence? It's starting to feel a lot less like self-preservation and more like I'm complicit. You're a Sorengale, aren't you? Maribel asks, The commanding general's daughter? She winces. The hair kind of gives you away. Yes, there's no use denying it. Your mother is terrifying, she whispers. The scribe glances between us before putting pencil to parchment again. I nod. That's one of her more prominent qualities. Hey guys, Risa raises her voice behind us. I think I know why it feels like we're getting nowhere. Why is that? Rhiannon asks over her shoulder. Calvin's right, but so are you. They gave us two different maps, she says, as the first of us crest the hill and freeze. Even the heartbeat comes to a standstill even my heartbeat comes to a standstill as Rhiannon throws up her hand to stop the rest of the group. An orange club tail. No, that's a scorpion tail. Growls at us low in her throat from where she's been lying in wait on the other side of the hill. Our heads tilt to follow the movement as she rises to her full height, dominating the skyline, her tail whipping behind her. Bade, Jack Barlow's dragon. Or at least she was. Amari, help us, Calvin whispers, his panic palpable. I drop my eyes in difference, just like Koiy taught us, as my pulse leaps and my brain fights the urge to panic. Let me reposition my seat. She'll kill you if you run. Try not to show any fear. Shit, this is what we should have been talking about instead of arguing about which quadrant is superior and which forest we're in. Wait. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. There we go. My chest tightens when my immediate instinct to reach for Terran is denied. With any other dragon, I would be against risking the anger of our dragons by torching us, but the cadets behind us are a whole other story. And since I killed Jack last year, all bets are off. She has nothing to lose, and given the hot blast of steam that levels the grass and makes my face sticky, she remembers exactly who I am. Riders! Rhiannon calls out. Take the front! She's obviously thinking the same way. Infantry, guard the healers, and scribe. She glances at me sideways, careful not to raise her eyes. Violet, maybe you should... Keeping my head down, I push past Calvin and stand in front, catching movement in my peripheral vision. I'm not hiding. What are you doing? It's going to eat you, one of the cadets behind us hisses. I look over and see a healer, Dyer, a few feet to my right, staring straight at Bade, his mouth agape. A growl rumbles up the orange's throat, and I lunge, gripping the strap of Dyer's medical pack and yanking him behind us, passing him to Riddick, who quickly shoves him to safety and moves to my side. No, she's not, Sawyer says, moving forward with Riddick so the infantry is behind us. That's why we're taking the front. Bade swivels her head, then opens her mouth and curls her tongue, and I chance a quick glance, catching her hazy golden eyes narrowing to slits as she arches her neck, changing her angle instead of lowering her head to strike in the typical. I inhale sharply. She's going to blast right past us, just like Solus. Takes less than a second to assess and decides. Second wing, she calls back. Halt and cover the infantry where you are. Movement behind us ceases as Bade flexes her claws in the ground and swivels again, choosing a target. It's, Calvin babbles. Drop your eyes and shut up, reorders. Gods, they all smell scared, Riddick whispers from my right. Exactly how pissed at you do you think she is? Sawyer asks me from Ree's left. She dropped a mountain on her rider, Riddick sighs, like we're all fucked, and I couldn't agree more. My heart leaps into my throat as Bade prowls backward, lowering her head to our level. It's the perfect angle to torch us, but I resist the urge to look and keep my eyes trained on the grass in front of me. Hot air gusts in our direction as she scents each of us, starting with Rhiannon and moving to Sawyer. There are a few muffled cries from the infantry cadets as she exhales a dank huff of steam, then breathes in again and when directly in front of me. I fight my racing heart. Last year, I might have accepted death, but this year, I'm bonded to one of the deadliest dragons on the continent. That's right, you might hate me, but I belong to Terran. And while there's a good chance Terran might die if I do, I'm not sure any dragon will risk or is willing to risk his wrath if he doesn't. Bade draws back, then darts forward with an open jaw, snapping her teeth shut directly in front of my nose and pelting my face with saliva. Holy shit. Someone behind us screams, then fucking runs. No! Gwen! Calvin shouts as Cadet Quiet breaks to the left, sprinting through the grass. Bade's head swings, tracking the movement, and my heart sinks as she drops her jaw. The side of her tongue visible the side of her tongue visible ahead of me as it curls. Down! Rhea shouts as the other squad leader, Thomas, runs after Gwen, catching her with a few strides and yanking her back by her uniform, in the same way I snatch Dyer from the front, but all but throwing her at Calvin as we drop as ordered. She stumbles to the ground at Calvin's feet just as Bade's nostrils flare. Heat consumes the air around us. At the same second, my chest hits the ground, and I close my eyes, like that can block out the sounds of screaming behind us. The northern Espins are believed to have been the hatching grounds for the Orange Dragon before unification, though true to their unpredictable nature, they often chose new valleys in the same range. I whisper as fire rages past, fighting to keep my heart from seizing. I haven't known this type of terror since Terran began channeling, and definitely not since I manifested my signet. The blast ceases, and Bade snaps her jaw shut, then swings her massive head in front of us one more time before crouching deeply and launching directly over us. I drop my gaze as her poison-barbed tail comes in within a foot of me, and then she's gone. We all scramble to our feet, and riders run. To get toward nothing. Brisa is the first to reach the charred ground where Thomas had stood. Her hand shakes as she reaches towards the still, smoking earth. My mouth waters as nausea rolls through me, but I keep my breakfast down. Maribel isn't as lucky, retching in the grass a few feet away. Thomas! Cohen kneels beside Brisa. Pivots to face the terrified infantry, her fists clenched to the side. And that, she shouts, is why you don't fucking run. Alright. That's the end of chapter 14. Yay. I'm going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will read chapter 15. Alrighty guys, so I will see you back in a few minutes, shall we? Alrighty. Let's see here. Alright. Let's get into chapter 15, shall we? Alright. Hold on. Alright, let me pull that up. There we go. When the sun sets the next day, and we have yet to reach the extraction point, it's clear we failed our land navigation exercise. All because we didn't stop to make sure the two fucking maps matched, and now we have no clue where we are. Blisters have long since formed and popped on my feet. My bones ache from sleeping on the ground last night, and the idea of spending another night out here just to wander aimlessly again in the morning makes me want to scream in frustration. How could something as simple as land navigation fuck us up this badly? We've backtracked, crossed two creeks that look like they could belong on either of the maps, and narrowly avoided an encounter with an ornery red daggertail who, lucky for us, decided a nearby cow looked tastier than weary, hungry cadets. As I sit against the trunk of a tree down the slight incline of our makeshift camp, relieving Riddick of watch, it hits me that I know a slew of new names. Not that infantry dies at Bezgayev, at the same rate riders do, even though they're the biggest quadrant with over 100 cadets at any given time. But once they get to their units, the overcoming war will devour them at a far faster pace. Did you get dinner? Riddick asks, brushing grass off his pants as he stands. I'll grab some when I'm done. I slip my pack from my shoulders and set it next to me. Not only have I been hiking for 2 days, I've carried textbooks with me. We all have. Infantry caught a good amount of rabbit. That should be done cooking any minute. They're way better at that than we are, he admits begrudgingly, ruffling his hair. You don't think they'll let us meander out here forever, do you? I think whatever they gave us has to inevitably wear off. I turn my head and see Cadet Dyer walking toward us with Rhiannon, carrying a plate. And our dragons aren't going to let us perish over our inability to work together enough to compare two maps. Then again, maybe they will. We might deserve it since our stubbornness cost Thomas his life. He sighs, waving to the pair as they reach us. Hey, Rhi, I was just saying that this whole exercise is a little cruel, don't you think? Practicing torture, I get. Navigating land, I understand. Evading capture, sure. I'll even make an argument for having to learn what bugs are edible. But it's not like other dragons are waiting behind enemy lines to kill us. You'd be surprised, I mutter, exhaustion getting the better of my tongue. What? Rhi questions. I mean, we really don't know what's out there, do we? Hopefully not fire-breathing griffins, Riddick says. Right, Rhiannon tilts her head, studying my face, and I quickly shrug. Hi, Dyer, I muster a smile. I brought you dinner. He looks at me with a reverence I don't deserve. You didn't have to do that, I reply. I owe you my life, Cadet Sorangale. He hands me a plate of roasted rabbit. The least I could do is bring you dinner. Thank you. I set the plate in my lap. Just do me a favor and keep your head down next time. Another thing infantry has on us, they carry a rudimentary set of survival gear, including a mess kit, in their packs at all times. Like they might be deployed at any second. We definitely have a few things to learn from each other. Anything you need, I'm at your service. I owe you a life debt. Before I can assure him that he doesn't, Riddick claps him on the back. I'm going to take life debt back to camp. I nod in thanks, and the two walk back up the incline to camp. Dyer is sweet, but he's been underfoot the entire interminable days we've been lost in this godforsaken woods. You know what's out there? Or you know what's out there, Reese says as she sits next to me, pulling her braids over her shoulder. What? I fumble and nearly drop the plate. You've been attacked by griffins. She stretches out her legs and looks at me skeptically. So you actually do know what's out there, right? Right. I nod a little too quickly and then cover a jaw-crackling yawn with my hand. My body is at its limit, but I'm sure I can push another couple of hours to make it through watch. Her frown is fast, but unmistakable. I've got the watch. Your body needs the extra sleep. I can do it, I protest. You can, but it's my job to manage the needs of my squad. And you need sleep. Consider it in order. There's no room for argument in her tone. This isn't my best friend speaking. It's my squad leader. Order it is. I stand, brushing the grass off my leathers with one hand and clutching the plate with the other. Then give her a forced, tight-lipped smile before turning toward camp. Vi, I look back. Something is going on with you, she says quietly, but there's no mistaking the steel in her tone. I haven't so much as seen Andarna since you returned. You're running with Imogen, of all people, and won't open up about whatever's up with you and Zayden, and you won't talk about war games. You might think that I don't notice that you're pulling away from everyone, but I do. You barely eat with us, and every chance you get to sneak in, or we get to sneak to Chantara, you're holed up in your room reading. She shakes her head, running her hand along the grass. If you're not ready to talk, to tell me what's going on with you, I want you to know that it's all right. My stomach twists, and I try to deny it. Don't, she interrupts softly, her unyielding gaze holding mine. I'll be here when you're ready because your friendship is precious to me. But please, for the sake of that friendship, don't insult me by lying. She looks away before I can think of a response. There's no sleep that night, but at least there aren't any nightmares either. A convoy of horses and wagons arrives the next morning, as do the professors, who have choice words for our failure. You were in the Haddon Woods, though none of you could work together long enough to figure it out. It's apparent that we have a lot to learn from each other. Grady hands each rider a water skin and smiles as the infantry professor does the same for her cadets. Seeing as you were our top squads, I can't deny that I'm disappointed. But at least most of you survived. He's disappointed, but Thomas is dead. I uncork and drink, tasting something sweet and hard to place as I drain it. Next time, we'll make sure you have supplies, he promises. We wanted to see how you'd make do this first time out. And now we know. First time out. Great. We get to do this again? The blanket thrown over my dragon bond lifts and power rushes through my veins. I feel like me again. Taryn? Behind you, he answers. Wing beats fill the air and the horses prance nervously as our dragons land at the edge of the trees, the grounds vibrating with the force of their landings. Holy shit, Calvin says softly, backing away with the other cadets. You're going to have to get used to them, Riddick pounds the squad leader's shoulder. They'll be at the outpost you're all stationed at once you take your commands after graduation. Right, but so close, he whispers. Probably closer, Riddick whispers back and nods. The seven of us in black say our goodbyes and then head to our dragons. Does it bother anyone else that they just took away our bonds, our signets, and then handed them back like it wasn't? Sawyer shakes his head, even though the rhythm of his steps is angry. Violating? I suggest. Exactly, he agrees. If they did it just then, that means they can do it whenever they want. It's a new development this year, Taryn says, his eyes narrowing on Professor Grady. One I do not care for. I could hear you, sense you, but you could not reply. Taryn isn't a fan either. Gods, I'm so tired. Why the hell would leadership be developing ways to weaken us? Because that's what because yes, because that's what it felt like being weakened, being cut off not only from my greatest source of strength and support, Taryn and Adarna, but the very power I've come to depend on. See, Rhiannon says, I know you don't believe me, but I'm telling you that things are weird this year. Guarded infirmary doors, developing elixirs to muffle our bonds. You were nearly assassinated at assessment. Panchik thinks that was someone looking for revenge on my mother, and I didn't say I don't believe you. I counter with selective truths. You don't say much, period. She shoots me a look. Keeping secrets from her is going to shred our friendship. Already, I feel it pulling at the seams. She might be trying to be patient, but it's her nature to solve problems, and I'm a huge one. Taryn dips his shoulder at my approach. Please tell me you got to see Sigale, I ask, summoning the energy to mount. Not sure how I'd managed to climb to his back and settle into the saddle. I did for a couple of hours. That's all the time I was willing to be out of range from you, and only after Bade left. And they're already gone? Why does it feel like my heart is breaking all over again? Missing Xaden is illogical and annoying and kind of pathetic, but I can't make the feeling ebb. We will see them in a week. So why does every instinct I have scream we won't? All right. That was chapter 15. It was a short-ish chapter, so yay. All right. We are halfway done with today's reading. And when we come back from our break here, we will read chapter 16. Let me double check, see how long. Okay, so it's not that short of a chapter, but yeah. So when I come back from break, we will we'll continue chapter 16. All right. Okay. Time for chapter 16. We're halfway there, guys. Chapter 16. We're back in enough time for me to visit the archives, so I do just that. Well, if I can't... I say well. If I can't see Xaden, I may as well spend my time researching. It's late afternoon before I can get cleaned up and make my way down there, and it makes me smile to see Jacinia work at one of the tables with Aofi. Aofi looks up and the sound of my bootsteps, at the sound of my bootsteps, prompting Jacinia too, as well. They both wave and I return the gesture. I pause at the study table, setting down my book to return as the two have a quick discussion before Aofi rises and heads to the back of the archives. Then Jacinia walks over, carrying what looks to be the notebook that Aofi brought along during the land navigation exercise. "What are you doing in here on a Sunday?" I sign as she reaches the study table. She puts the notebook down on the scarred oak surface and lifts her hands to sign, helping Aofi transcribe her account into the official reports to be filed. She's taking a quick break. Want to see what she what she wrote? She picks up the notebook and offers it to me. Absolutely. I nod, then take the notebook and skim Aofi's neat handwriting. It's amazingly accurate with details I'd missed, like the two infantry cadets who offered to be the healers' aides because that's their job for the squad. They have designated roles for each mission. I set it down on top of the book I'm returning and sign. This is incredible. Glad to hear it's accurate. She glances over her shoulder as if checking to see if we're alone, which we are. The tricky thing is to capture the truth and not just not just an interpretation. Stories can change depending on who tells them. If she only knew. Oh, excuse me. How does someone like Jacinia graduate to become whatever Markham has evolved into? Can I ask, what book did Jacek request that got him hauled away and killed? I sign before I think better of it. Her eyes widen. He was killed? I nod. A few days after we saw Markham take him. My God. Sorry, my phone is going crazy. Give me 1 second here, guys. Where was I? Okay. I nod. A few days after we saw Markham take him. Her face turns, the same shade as her robes. He was looking for an account of a border attack that doesn't exist. I told him there's no such record, but he came back 3 times, certain there was because he had family killed in the event. I recorded the request and sent it up my chain of command, thinking it would help him, but... She shakes her head and drops her hands, blinking back tears. It's not your fault, I sign. But she doesn't respond, and it hits me that I could have been hauled away by Markham last year, but I wasn't. And there's only one logical explanation. I glance around us quickly to make sure we're still alone. Last year, you didn't record when I asked for a book that doesn't exist in your records. Her eyes widen. Did you? My hands tremble as I sign. Shit, this is a bad idea. She'll be in danger if I bring her into this. But she's also the best person who can help me to find what I'm looking for. And we only have months. No. Why? I have to know. Everything hinges on her answer. At first, because I didn't want to be embarrassed that I couldn't find it. Her nose scrunches. Then, because I couldn't find it. She looks over her shoulder at the empty archives. We should have a copy of almost every tome in Navarre here. Yet you told me you'd read one that we don't have. I nod. And then I looked up Wyvern. She spelled out the individual letters because there's no sign. There's no sign for the winged creatures, and nothing. We have no recorded folklore like what you read. I know. My heart thrums faster. We're venturing into dangerous territory. Her brows knit under her hood. If you were any other writer, I would have considered that you have a faulty memory and got the title wrong, or even the subject matter. But you're you. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, my system is being a little slow here. There we go. Alright, sorry. I was, fixing something real quick. Cause you're you. I sign slowly so she doesn't miss a word. The title wasn't wrong. I found my copy. She takes a deep breath. Which means our archives are incomplete. There are books in existence we have no record of. Yes. And now we're talking treason. I can't tell her too much. Not just for her own safety, but in case I'm wrong about her. I sent requests to other libraries looking for a wider collection of folklore, but the responses made it clear we have the most comprehensive selection. Her forehead wrinkles in concern. Yes. Gods, she's catching on without me even having to tell her. Does anyone know what what you were doing? I implied that it was a personal passion to collect forgotten folklore from the border regions. She winces. And then I implied that I was considering compiling a new tome as my third-year endeavor to graduate. I lied. Her mouth tightens as she drops her hands. I'm doing a lot of that lately. Once I'm sure we're still alone, I continue. Have you recorded any that I've asked for this year? No. Great Dune. If she's caught breaking regulation, she won't just be denied the adept path. She'll be expelled from the college, or worse. She's already risking so much on my account, if she's telling the truth. You're looking for something. I knew it the second you lied about preparing for a debate. She searches my eye. You're a horrible liar, Violet. I laugh. I'm working on it. Can you tell me what you're looking for? I won't record your requests, not if you're thinking the same thing I am. Which is, that our archives are incomplete, either by ignorance, she breathes deeply, or intention. It's funny how she pauses when she breathes, even though she's signing. Anywho. Sorry.
You've got mail.
Sorry, my, phone's going off crazy. Da-da-da. Helping me could hurt you. My stomach sinks. Get you killed. Sorry.
You've got mail.
I can handle myself. Oh, get you killed. It's not fair. Ooh. Oh, that's loud. Sorry. Get you killed. It's not fair to bring you into something dangerous. I can handle myself. She lifts her chin, and her next gestures are sharp. Tell me what you need. What can I tell her without endangering her future? Or risking our exposure? I have no idea if she's capable of shielding Dane or any memory reader for her from her mind. So clearly nothing about battles or venom. But that's not what I need anyway. I need the most comprehensive text you have about how the first six built the wards. The wards? Her eyes flare. Yes. It's the simplest request that could be measly explained by wanting to research how to strengthen our defenses if she tells. But no one can know I'm asking, that I'm researching. More than my life depends on it. The older the text, the better. She looks away for what feels like the longest minute of my life. Oof. She has every right to pause, to think, to realize just how badly this could go for both of us. This isn't a slip of memory, simply forgetting to record a request from my friend. This betrays her quadrant, her training, her eyes meet mine. I can't risk Aofi seeing right now, but I'll find you this week with the first tome I'm thinking of. One is all I can risk going missing. Saturdays are usually the day I work the archives when it's quiet. Bring it back then, and I'll give you another if the first doesn't have what you need. Only Saturdays. She lifts her brows as she signs those last two words. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me restart this musica. When it's quiet, I nod in understanding, my stomach flipping with a mixture of hope and fear that I'm going to get her hurt, or worse. Glancing over her shoulder, I see Aofi walking our way. Aofi is coming, I sigh, keeping my hands where the other scribes can't see them. Thank you. But there's something I want to return. She signs quickly, angling her back so Aofi won't see it. Or want in return. Name it. Alright, let me... You think Sloane has a shot? Ree asks on Monday as we watch the first round of challenges be called out. My stomach churns with nausea, like I'm the one who's going to be summoned to the mat. Fuck. I'd actually feel better if it was my name I knew they were going to call instead of Sloane's. She'll win, I answered truthfully. I pocket the latest letter Zayden left me on my bed. I've already read it 4 times. As Arik takes his place on the mat, I glance around and see Aya waiting with First Squad and offer a fast smile, which she returns. Ever since she helped me after my near burnout, we've developed a weird sort of relationship. We're friendly, if not friends, at least. Turns out Zayden knows Aya since they were 10. According to the letter, her mother was active in the government of Tyrandor, holding a council seat even though she was a writer, which is uncommon. In fact, most of the aristocracy chooses to serve in the infantry, just like Zayden's father, because writers are discouraged from holding their family's seats. Oh my god. Why is my frickin'... all my notifications are going off for like 5 seconds. Where was I? Fantasies. Not only are our commissions lifelong instead of the few years a few years an infantry officer can agree to, but too much power in one person terrifies any king. You forgive him yet for whatever it is he lied to you about? Reed darts a meaningful look at my pocket, then folds her arms and glares at a pair of first years shoving each other near the edge of the mat. Stop fucking around! They instantly halt. Impressive, I grin, but it falls quickly. And it's hard to talk something out with him when we only see each other once a week. Fucking first years, she mutters, then glances over at me. That's a good point, but you should get some time this weekend. Hey, did Riddick tell you he saw Nolan yesterday? He just said he had to take one of the first years to the infirmary, I said, raising one eyebrow in question. Tristan, she nods. He's the one with the floppy hair that never quite stays out of his eyes. Whatever his name is, the guy who shattered his forearm. I don't want to know his name. I already feel responsible for Sloane, who is currently swaying back and forth nervously across the mat. Emotionally attaching to any more first years is just reckless. Riddick said that Nolan couldn't even see them until after dinner. And there were only a handful of other cadets in the infirmary. And when we walked out of this secretive room he's got with Varish in the back of the infirmary, he was with an air wielder who looked just as haggard. Riddick chimes in as he sidles up between us. So clearly, Nolan isn't doing his best work. Guy needs a month off. Arik delivers a punch to his opponent's jaw that makes the guy's head snap back. I give that a 7, Riddick heckles from the sidelines. Out of 10? Solid 8, Sawyer counters from the other side of Rhiannon. Perfect form. Then he lowers his voice and adds just for the four of us. And I'm still going with the torture theory. I bet they got Griffin writers in there or something. You think he is really torturing people back there? Rhiannon says, lowering her voice even more. I have no clue. I blink as Arik elbows his opponent in the throat with a quick jab that even Xaden would respect. I would think they'd use the main interrogation chambers if they were doing something like that. The ones beneath the school? That's a fucking 9, Sawyer calls out. 9? Riddick agrees. Yeah, 9, Riddick agrees. Throwing up his hands with all of his fingers spread out except a thumb. I laugh and then gasp as Arik breaks his opponent's nose with the heel of his hand, ending the match. And Materia declares him the winner, and the first year has the decency to make it off the mat before dropping his hand away from his gushing nose. That's a lot of blood. Sawyer and Riddick break out in applause, both shouting scores. Gods, can that one fight? Reen nods slowly in approval as Arik takes his place in the squad. Well, when you've had the best tutors, I whisper, grateful he's one secret she knows about. Daddy hasn't come looking for him? She glances my way. Apparently not. Challenges around us come to an end, and the professors call out the next batch. Sloane Mari and Dasha Fabrain. And Materio calls out. Hey, Ree, I swallow. Squad shift, but ours kept our mat. That's the benefit of holding the reigning Iron Squad patch from last year. Remember how I said Sloane was going to win? Yes, I remember a comment from 10 minutes ago, she teases. A couple of our first years pat Sloane on the back and offer what I hope are words of encouragement as she walks out onto the mat in front of us. Right, well, shit, if I tell her, will she feel honored bound to report me? She wouldn't, and that's the problem. She'd help me break into the fucking archives if I wanted. If you can't lie, distance yourself. But this is another thing I don't have to lie to her about. Dasha joins Sloane on the mat, her shiny black hair braided in a single line from the tip of her forehead to the nape of her neck. She's petite and still has the parlor of the first year who hadn't seen enough sun. But she's nothing close to the shade of green Sloane is turning. There's a slight crimson tint in Dasha's lips that lets me know she had one of the frosted pastries from the tray I'd placed on her squad's breakfast table before they arrived this morning. Now that I'm looking, all of the members of her squad have the same hue to their mouths. Oh well, it wasn't like I knew which one Dasha would eat. If you're going to change your mind, or if you're going to change your mind and say she's going to lose, then don't tell me. Rhiannon shakes her head. I'm nervous about this one. Me too, Imogen says, taking the empty spot on my right. That makes 3 of us, Quinn says next to her. She's not just a first year. No, I agree, noting that even Dane is watching from the next mat over, and to think last year I'd actually hoped I'd be in a relationship with him. I lower my voice, she's not going to lose. Her gaze narrows. What are you going to do? If you don't know, or what are you going to do? If you don't know, you don't have to feel guilty about reporting it. Just trust me. I slide my hand into my pocket as nonchalantly as possible and uncork the small glass vial as the 2 girls nod, each taking a fighting stance. Ree searches my eyes, then nods as well, turning back to the match. The first years circle each other on the mat, and I carefully turn the vial in my hand, letting what I know to be the colorless powder fall from the glass into the creases between my palm and fingers. I withdraw my hand in a fist, keeping it tight at my sides as Dasha delivers her first blow, a punch straight to Sloane's cheek. The blonde's skin splits. Fuck, Imogen mutters. Come on, Mari, stand up. Someone screams from the mat behind us, and we all look over our shoulders to see a first year staring lifelessly up at his opponent. Shit, killing an opponent during a challenge isn't cheered, but it's also isn't punishable. More than one grudge has been settled on these mats in the name of strengthening the wings. I suddenly feel a lot less guilty about my plans. The girls circle again, and Dasha kicks high, catching Sloane on the unmarked side of her face, so hard that her head snaps sideways, and then her body follows, turning as she falls to the mat, landing on her back. That was faster than I expected, Ree notes, worry lacing her tone. Me too. I lifted my closed fist to my mouth and shift my weight, making sure that I look as worried as I feel as Dasha follows Sloane down to the floor. The pair is only a few feet away, so at least I won't have to skirt my way around the mat. Crouch, I say under my breath to Imogen. She drops without a question. Come on, Mari! I lower myself too, panic creeping up my throat as at the look of on Sloane's dazed face as Dasha lands another punch, then another and another. Blood splatters the mat. Yeah, that's enough. I wait for Dasha to exhale, then open my palm slightly and cough. Hard. She breathes in and gets one more hit. Then she shakes her head and her eyes glaze over. Get up, Sloane! I yell, looking her dead in the eye. Dasha falls back on her ass, blinks rapidly, her head wobbling as if she's been at the pub for the evening. Sloane rolls to her side and plants her palms on the mat. Now! I order her. Anger fills her eyes, and she lunges forward towards Dasha. Dasha's fist curls, but her swing doesn't make contact as Sloane buries her shoulders in Dasha's stomach. At that angle, she had to have At that angle, she had to have knocked the breath out of her. Good. She only has another moment, maybe 2. Sloane scrambles behind Dasha and then yanks her up and into the weakest chokehold I've ever seen. But hey, if it works. Yield! Sloane demands. Dasha bucks upward, her strength and focus returning. Yield! Sloane yells this time, and I hold my breath. Gods, if I judged wrong and Dasha gains the upper hand again. Dasha finally drops her hand to the mat and taps twice. My shoulders droop in pure relief as Emetario calls the match. What did you do? Imogen whispers without looking at me. What needed to be done? We both stand as the first years do, but unlike them, we don't stumble as we gain our feet. You sound like Xaden, Imogen says. My gaze swings towards her. Relax, it's a compliment, she smiles. Liam is immeasurably grateful right now. I swallow past a lump in my throat. Not half bad, Rhiannon says, glancing sideways at me before watching Sloane take her place with the rest of the first years in our squad. Not good, either. I'll give that match a 6, Riddick comments. I mean, she didn't lose, so clearly that rate's above a 5. The next pair takes the mat. Once today's challenges are over, I look at Imogen and nod towards Sloane before heading that direction. Give me a second, I say over my shoulder to Rhiannon. Imogen jogs to catch up. Mari, I say as we round the corner of the mat, crooking my finger at her. Sloane lifts her chin in the air, but at least she comes. This isn't exactly the kind of discussion I want to scream across the gym. Ouch, Imogen points to her right eye as she approaches. That's going to swell shut. I won, didn't I? Her voice shakes. You won because I took Dasha out for you. I keep my voice low and spread my palm wide open, where there's a trace amount of shimmering powder left on my skin. No, she shakes her head. I won that fair and square. Gods, do I wish that was true. I huff out a breath. Ardice powder. When combined with an earlier dose of ground lilybell, disorients someone for a minute. Maybe 2, depending on the dose. Similar to being drunk. Alone, they're mildly upsetting to the stomach. Together, I lift my eyebrows, they kept you alive. Sloane's mouth opens and shuts twice. Or shuts once. Twice. Damn, Imogen grins, rocking back on her heels as cadets shuffle past, heading for the door. Is that how you got through those first challenges last year? Devious, Sir Gale. Fucking brilliant, but devious. I did that for your brother, I tell Sloane, keeping eye contact, even though the hatred shining through hers hurts like hell. He was one of my closest friends, and I promised him, while he was fucking dying, that I'd look after you. So here I am, looking after you. I don't need wrong tactic, Imogen lectures. Thank you is appropriate. I'm not thanking her, she sees, her eyes narrowing on me. He'd be here if not for you. That's some bullshit, Imogen snaps. Xaden ordered... You're right, I interrupt. He would, and I miss him every single day, and because of the love I have for him, it's okay that you hate me. You can think whatever you need to about me if it gets you through the day. Sloane. But you're going to train. You're going to accept help. If it's Malik's will that I join my brother, then so be it. Liam didn't need help, she retorts, but there's a touch of fear in her eyes that lets me know most of this is bluster. He made it on his own. No, he didn't, Imogen argues. Violet saved his life during war games. He fell off days back, and it was Violet and Taryn who flew after him and caught him. Sloane's lips part. Here's the deal. I take a step closer to Sloane. You're going to train, so you don't get yourself killed. Not with me. I don't need to be a part of your development era. But you will meet with Imogen every single day if that's what she wants, because I have something you want. I highly doubt that, she crosses her arms, but the effect is ruined by the rapid swelling of her eye. I have 50 of the letters Liam wrote you. Her eyes widen. Oh shit, Imogen's head jerks towards mine. Seriously? Seriously. I don't look away from Sloane, and at the end of every week that you attend and participate in whatever Imogen thinks you need, I'll give one of them to you. All of his things were burned, Sloane sputters. They were sacrificed to Malik as they should be. I'll definitely apologize to Malik when we meet, I assure her. If you want his letters, you'll train for them. Her face turns a molted shade of red. You'd keep my brother's letters from me? If they still exist, they're mine. You really are a piece of work. In this case, I think Liam would more than approve. I shrug. It's up to you, Sloane. Show up, train, live, and get a letter a week. Or don't. Without waiting for whatever snarky response she can come up with, I turn and leave, walking back towards where Rhiannon is waiting with the upper years of our squad. You are... Imogen shakes her head as she catches up to me. I see it now. What? I ask. Why Xaden fell for you? I scoff. Truthfully, she puts her hands up. You're fucking clever. Way more clever than I gave you credit for. I bet you keep him constantly annoyed. A smile beams across her face. How glorious. I roll my eyes at her. And you've got Salone to agree to show up tomorrow morning after chores. She tells me. It was a risky move, but it worked. Now I'm the one smiling. Jacinia brings me the unabridged history of the first six the next day, which is not only a 300-year-old text, but marked classified in the end papers, and I keep my side of the deal, handing over the fables of the Baron. Then I hide away at every available second to read her book, when we're not being lectured by Professor Grady about our inability to check our egos or getting what feels like pointless battle briefs. But while it goes into detail about the complex interpersonal relationships of the first six, and even a little of their battle experience during the Great War, it simply labels the enemy as General Daramore and our allies as the Isle Kingdoms. Not exactly helpful. The book Jacinia gives me on Saturday is The Sacrifice of Dragonkind by one of Kaori's predecessors, and it goes into why Basgiath was chosen for the location of the wards. Green dragons, especially those descending from the line of Creidanane. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong. Especially, or have an especially stable connection to magic, which some believe is a result of their reasonable defensive nature. I repeat in a whisper as I pack to head to Samara that night. There's absolutely nothing that could ruin my evening. Not when I'm about to see Xaden in the morning. My eyes widen when I open the door and find Varish standing there instead of Bodhi, flanked by his two henchmen, and immediately remind myself to thank Xaden for the wards that deny him entry. A quick step backwards puts me out of his reach. Relax, Sorengale. He smiles like he didn't nearly kill me with his little punishment. I just came by to check your pack and walk you out to Terran. I slip my pack over my shoulder and hold it out to him, careful not to let him touch my skin so he can't slip through the wards. Then I keep my eyes locked on his henchmen as they dump my belongings instead of glancing to my bookcase to be sure my classified tome is hidden. It's clear, the woman says, and she's kind enough to put my things away. Excellent, Varish nods. Then we'll just escort you to your dragon. You can't be too careful around here, given the rash of attacks these last few weeks. He tilts his head. Funny that most seem to be focused on those of you who disappeared during war games, don't you think? Not sure I'd ever call assaults funny, I reply, but I don't need the escort. Nonsense! He steps back and gestures into the hallway. We wouldn't want anything to happen to the daughter of the commanding general. My heart bolts at an unsustainable rhythm. It's not a suggestion, his smile slides. I check my sheaths to be sure my daggers are in place, then walk into the hallway, feeling the tug of Xaden's wards as I leave their safety. Every step I take for the next 15 minutes is careful, deliberate, and I make sure I'm never within arm's reach or striking distance. I noticed your squad didn't have flight maneuvers this week, Varish says as we approach Terran on the flight field. I'll snack if he makes a move, Terran promises, and I start to breathe normally. We had a few injuries that needed to recover after running landings. He gestures towards Terran, as if inviting me to ride my own dragon. Well, it was noted, as you'll soon see. I guess I'll meet your little golden next week. And Darna. She is safe within the deepest stages of the dreamless sleep. You should be able to see her in a few weeks. Terran says, That's what you said last week. I mount quickly, my pulse settling as I strap into the saddle. Before last year, I never would have considered that the safest place in the world was on the back of a dragon. Before last year, I might have seen you as an appetizer. He rolls his shoulders and launches. When I get to Samara, I understand why Varish warned that I'd see why he'd noted our lack of flight maneuvers. I might be here, but Zayden is on a 24-hour duty to the operations center, and I don't have clearance. All right, that is the end of 16. We're gonna take a quick break here, and we will be back with chapter 17. We're almost there today. All right. I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay. Woohoo. Alright. We got 2 more chapters left today. Alright. Let me get myself situated here. Me. Oh goodness. That hurt. Alright. Chapter 17. Bodhi can't keep moving maneuvers for our section, or more teachers than Varish are going to notice, Imogen says on Wednesday, as we walk towards Battle Brief, moving up the main staircase in a sea of black. Taryn is going to the Empyrean about Andarna, but absolutely nothing can be done until she wakes from the dreamless sleep anyway. She sighs. How are things with Xaden? I nearly trip on the last step before the doorway. You want to talk about my relationship with Xaden? I'm only giving you however long it takes us to reach the battle brief room. Her face puckers like she tasted something sour. So if you need to talk, this is your chance, since I notice you're still icing your friends out, which is a mistake. Well, in that case. 1, Xaden told me to keep my distance if I couldn't lie to them, and 2, between the land nav course, which we failed, and his duty schedule, I think leadership is keeping us apart as a punishment for not producing Andarna. And it's coded. But he says the same in the letter he left on, and it's coded. But he says the same in the letter he left on his bed for me. A letter that quickly became my favorite because it delves into what his life had been like before the rebellion. It also makes me wonder what he'd be like if it was still the reality he was living in. That's just weird, Imogen says, her brow furrowing as her gaze scans the hallways for threats. It is. I do the same, watching every pair of hands I see. The timing of the last 2 weeks is just too coincidental for it not to be on purpose. Oh no, that part is completely understandable. She side-eyes me. Separating you two would be my first move if I was in a position of power. On your own, you're both capable of terrifying things with those signets. Together? You're a fucking menace. I mean, it's weird that he's writing you letters. Why? I think it's sweet. Exactly. Does he strike you as a letters kind of guy? She shakes her head. He's not even a talking kind of guy. We're trying to work on our communication. It comes out a touch defensive. You're eventually going to let him off the hook for keeping you in the dark, aren't you? She shoots me a look that says she clearly thinks I should, and pulls 2 hairpins from her pocket. Better answer quickly, we're almost there. Can you love someone who refuses to be open with you? I challenge. 1, she blatantly mimics me. We are not talking about my love life. I have Quinn, my actual friend, for that. She pins back the longest section of her pink hair with quick, efficient movements. 2, we keep information classified all the time. You have the same problem with any writer you dated. That's not... Fine, she has a point, but she's missing mine. Alright, let's say that you're with someone and one day a battle axe comes hurtling out of his armoire. An armoire? I really wish you'd go back to confiding in Rhiannon. She shakes her head. And nearly kills you. Wouldn't you demand to see the rest of the armoire to make sure there are no other battle axes poised to strike before getting back together with them? We're almost at the lecture hall. There's always a battle axe. As we pass the doorway, she nods to Aya, who is chatting with Bodhi, and my eyes flare at her black eye and what looks to be a broken nose. Because that's normal? You didn't want normal. If you did, you'd be in a relationship with Atos. She shudders. Or hell, anyone else in this place. You wanted Ryerson. If you didn't think the man was hiding more than a few battle axes, then you're mad at the wrong person because you lied to yourself. I open and shut my mouth as we funnel through the wide doors into the battle brief room. Without windows to let the hot sun in, the hall is a welcome refuge from the sticky August heat. Oh, look, our time is up, she sighs in obvious relief. Helpful? I miss talking to Ree. You want actual meaningful advice? She takes my elbow and tugs me into the side of the staircase where the third years stand. Fine. Everyone fails land nav for the first time. We're egotistical assholes who can't handle being wrong. The instructor just wants you to feel bad about it, which is clearly working. Not to mention that you have bigger issues to worry about than how you're going to survive the rest of RSC, including the interrogation portions, where they will beat the shit out of you for fun. Or I don't know, going to war. And you asked if I wanted to talk about your relationship, which implies that you damn well know you're still in one. I bristle. That's not. I'm still speaking. A third year from first wing gets too close, and she shoves my shoulder. You don't have to freeze out everyone you can't be completely honest with just because Ryerson thinks that works for him. It doesn't. Hence all of your issues, and it damn well looks like your friend needs you, so go. She motions towards the staircase behind me, and I turn, catching sight of Ree leaning against the wall. Worry pinches her features as she reads the parchment she's clutching next to Tara, obviously oblivious to the cadets passing by the wide staircase. I start down the steps, dodging more than one over-eager first year on my way to Ree. I'm sure it's nothing. Tara rubs Ree's shoulders as I reach them. Show it to Markham after brief. I'm going to get going. She tucks her black hair behind her ears and smiles again when she sees me. Hi, Violet. Hi, Tara. I wave as she leaves, making her first way to first wing seats. Everything all right, Ree? I ask, knowing she has every right to shut me out the way I've done her. I don't know. She hands me the parchment. I got this with a letter from my parents this morning. They said they're circulating around the village. I open it and my eyes widen for a heartbeat before I school my expression. It's the size of the public announcement the scribes nailed to the post in every village in Navarre, but there's no official announcement number at the top. Beware of strangers seeking shelter. What the hell? I mutter softly. My thoughts exactly, she replies. Read the rest. In this time of unprecedented violations of our sovereign borders, we count on you, our border villages, to be our eyes and ears. Our safety depends on your vigilance. Do not take in strangers. Your kindness could kill. Your kindness could kill? I repeat quietly as cadets shuffle past. And what border violations? What do we have here? Markham says, snatching the paper from my hands. It came from my village, Ree explains. So it did. He glances up at me and then over to Rhiannon. Thank you for bringing this to class. He continues down the stairs without another word. I'm so sorry, I say to Ree. Not your fault, she replies. And I would have taken it to him after class anyways. If anyone could explain that, it would be him. Of course, I force a smile. Let's take our seats. We make our way to the seats beside Riddick and Sawyer, then take out our things. How are your parents? I ask Ree, trying to make the transition sound natural. Good, she smiles softly. Their shop is booming right now since they moved another company of infantry into Montserrat. I blink. That puts the outpost at more than capacity. Good morning, Markham says, his voice booming over the hall as he holds up the paper from Rhiannon's letter. Today we're going to talk about the battles that aren't quite so obvious. One of your classmates received this notice. He reads it aloud, his intonation changing what obviously a warning to a passionate plea. Professor Devera stands with her arms crossed, her eyes downcast as he finished reading. This is a religious notice, Markham explains, which is why it does not carry a public announcement number. We have seen an alarming number of attempted border crossings in our mountain villages near our most strategic outposts. Why is this dangerous? My grip on my pen tightens. Are the Paromish civilians fleeing a new offense? Nausea rolls through my stomach. Wards could protect so many more people, but I'm no closer to an answer than I was when we go back to Besgaith from Orisha. Every book I've read mentions the glorious accomplishments, but none say how it was accomplished. If the answer is in the archives, then it's well hidden, because we can't know their intentions. Because we can't know their intentions, a first year answers. That's why we keep our borders closed. Markham nods. But when did we close our borders? As soon as we unified? Or closer to 400 AU, when I think we wiped the history from the books? I shift in my seat as power rises in direct proportion to my frustration. Answers are supposed to follow questions. That's how my life was always worked. Until now, there's never been a question I couldn't answer after a few hours in the archives. And now, I'm not sure I can trust any answers I do find there. Nothing makes sense. My fingertips buzz, and heat quickly follows. Silver One. There's a note of warning in Terran's tone. I know. I breathe deeply and fight to shove the feelings back into the neat little box that holds all my inconvenient emotions, tugging my shields tight around me. This could be a new tactic, a third year calls out from behind us. Infiltrating our outposts under false pretenses? Exactly, Markham nods. Devera shifts her weight and then lifts her chin, looking up at us. Does she know? Gods, I want her not to know. I want her to be as good as a person as I think she is. What about Koiy, Emetario, Grady? Are any of my professors actually trustworthy? What's more disturbing is the propaganda these Paromish people bring with them. Falsified announcements from their own leadership of cities destroyed in what they claim to be violent attacks. He pauses like he's debating telling us the rest, but I know it's for dramatics. Attacks they claim come from dragons. Fucking liar. Heat stains my cheeks and I quickly avert my gaze when he looks my way. The buzzing rises to a hum when energy gathers, pushing at my skin, looking for an outlet. A disgruntled murmur rises from the cadets around me. As if dragons would ruin cities, Rhiannon mutters, shaking her head. They wouldn't, but Wyvern would, and do. Markham sighs. This notice does not mean we aren't without compassion. In fact, for the first time in hundreds of years, we authorize classified missions, now complete, of course, to reconnoiter those very cities. My pen casing groans, and power ripples along my skin, lifting the hair on my forearm. Are you all right? Rhiannon asks. Fine. You sure about that? She stares pointedly at my hand, and the tendrils of smoke rising from the pen, and the tendrils of smoke rising from the pen. I drop it, then rub my hands together like that's going to help dispel the energy coursing through my body. Those assigned riots have reported back that the cities inside Paromial are intact, leading us to the same conclusion you've drawn. This is a new tactic that plays on our compassion. He says it with such certainty that I nearly applaud his acting. Professor Devera? She clears her throat. I read the reports this morning. There was no destruction mentioned. Whose reports? The scribes can be trusted. There you have it. Markham shakes his head. I think this is a good time to focus our discussion on the efficiency of propaganda and the role civilians play in supporting a war effort. Lies are powerful tools. He would know. Somehow, I make it through the rest of briefing without setting the map on fire. Then, pack my things in a hurry and force my way past the other cadets to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. I break into a run down the hallway, pulling the straps of my heavy pack tight, so it doesn't slam into my spine, as I race down the steps. Agonizing heat spirals tight, building in preparation to strike. And when I finally push through the doors to the courtyard, I stumble forward and throw up my hands to release it. Power rips through me and lightning strikes near the outer walls, far enough away that the flying gravel only impacts the wall. I feel Terran hovering on the edge of my mind, but he doesn't lecture. Violet? Rhiannon steps in front of me, her chest heaving from obviously having to run after me. I'm fine, I lie. Gods, that's getting so fucking easy, and it's the one thing she asked me not to do. Obviously, she gestures to the courtyard. I have to go. Step by step, I back away from her and knot sighs of the entire quadrant forming in my throat. I'll be late for RSC. Will you take notes? Because that's definitely the class you should be late for, she says sarcastically. What could possibly be more important than learning interrogation techniques? I shake my head, then pivot and run before I tell another lie. Into the dormitory, down the steps, through the tunnels, across the bridge, into the healer quadrant. I don't stop running until I'm almost to the archives, and then only my body slows, not my thoughts. The guard stands but doesn't challenge my right to walk straight past the large circular door into the archives. Paper and glue and Dad. The scent fills my lungs and the knot in my throat loosens as my heartbeat calms. Until I realize at least 200 scribes are seated at the table and every single one of them is staring at me. Then the organ beating in my chest picks up the pace again. What in Amari's name am I doing? You've apparently lost all common sense with your control and regressed to where you think you can locate it, Terran growls. Fair point. Not that I'm telling him that. Just did. A tall figure in cream robes turns in her seat and looks me up and down. The archives are not open to writers at this hour. I know. I nod, and yet I'm here. What can I do for you? The professor asks in a tone that suggests I find somewhere else to be. I just need... What, to return a book I shouldn't have? 3 rows back, a scribe stands and walks forward, shooting me an incredulous look before lifting her hands to sign toward her professor, Jacinia. The professor nods, and Jacinia heads my way, her eyes flaring in unspoken "what the fuck" as she approaches. I'm sorry, I sign. She turns to my right in front of the study table, and I follow, noting the stacks block us from the class's view. What are you doing? She sighs. You can't be here right now. I know, I accidentally ended up here. I slip my pack from my shoulders and rummage through for the book, handing it over to her like this was some planned meeting. She glances from me to the book, then sighs and steps back a few feet, cringing when she slides the book onto a shelf it absolutely does not belong on. You look upset. I'm sorry, I repeat. Are you going to be in trouble? Of course not. I told her you're an impatient, arrogant writer, and it would be less disruptive to our studies if I helped you, all of which is true. She glances towards the end of the stacks. This couldn't wait until Sunday? Or until Saturday? I start to nod, then shake my head. I need to read faster. She studies my expression, and 2 lines appear between her eyebrows. I asked what you were looking for, but I should have asked what will happen if you don't find it. People will die. My stomach sinks lower with every word I sign. That's all I can say. She sits with that for a few seconds. Have you at least told your squad mates whatever it is you're too scared to tell me? No. I hesitate, struggling to find the words. I can't let anyone else die because of me. I've already put you in too much danger. You gave me a choice. Don't you think they deserve the same? She levels a disappointed look at me, then when I don't answer. I'll bring you a new selection tonight. Meet me on the bridge at 8. She steps into my space. Saturdays, Violet, or you'll get us caught. I nod. Thank you. All right. That is the end of chapter 17. All right. Alright, so I will be back in a little bit, and we will read chapter 18, which is the last chapter of the day. All right. Let's start reading the final chapter, shall we? Or of today. All right. Right, chapter 18. You're early, I blurt when Zayden opens my door Saturday morning to find me on the floor of my room, surrounded by every history text I own and the two just sitting alone to me. Shit, I'm supposed to meet her in less than an hour. He blinks and shuts the door behind me. Hello to you too. Hi, I respond, my voice softening. The elation of seeing him is tempered by the shadows under his eyes. Sorry, I just wasn't expecting you to make it until noon. If they even let you come in, you look exhausted. Even his movements are slower, not by much, but I notice. That's what every man wants to hear. He sets his swords by the door and drops his pack right next to them, like it's where they go. Like this room is partly his too. Like his room at Samara feels like it's mine. Neither of us has ever asked for separate quarters. Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry. Maybe I can't fully trust him, but I also can't stand to be away from him. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I didn't say you aren't beautiful. I implied that you need to nap. I nod toward my empty bed. You should sleep. His slow smile stops my heart. You think I'm beautiful? Like you don't already know that. I roll my eyes and flip the pages in The Journey of the First Six, a second-hand account, averting my gaze. I also think you smell like you've been flying for 12 hours. It's not exactly true, but maybe it will check the already enormous ego I just inflated. Gods, I missed you. He laughs and rips off his flight jacket, revealing the short sleeves of his summer uniform and indecently toned arms. I breathe through my impulse to forget every single worry for a couple of hours by laying him over or out over this floor and try like hell to concentrate on the text in front of me. Think anyone will report me for using the bathing chamber? He's already rummaging through his pack. I don't think anyone would report you for cold-blooded murder around here, let alone taking a bath. Lieutenants aren't exactly supposed to be sleeping in cadets' quarters when they visit, he tells me. We're breaking a few rules. Never bothered you before, letting his assumptions that he's sleeping here slide. I glance up from the book and immediately regret it when I see that he's shirtless. Gods help me if he strips off anything else. Didn't say it bothered me now. He stands, his arms full of fresh clothes from his pack. You don't want, or just don't want to see you punished for my actions. I thought they were going to find a way to send you on maneuvers today, or just lock you away. Me too. Awareness spreads through every part of my body as I lock eyes with him. I'm sure they'll find a dark cellar for you next week, so we should try to enjoy this one. You and I have different definitions of the word enjoy. He gestures to the books scattered on the floor. Not really. I scan the page quickly and flip to the next. I think spending the day tangled up in that bed together would be enjoyable. But since you drew your line, here I am with boring, sexless books. Say those 3 little words, and I'll have you naked in seconds. He looks at me with so much heat that I do a double take when I glance up, my breath catching. I want you. All day, every day. Those aren't the 3 words I need. He slides into my mind like a caress. And why aren't your shields up? Well, those are the words you get without full disclosure. I rip my gaze away, and it's just us in here. Whoop. He gives me a look I can't decipher. I'll be right back. You don't really smell, I whisper, uh, loath to let him out of or I whisper, loath to let him out of my sight for even a second. Get any closer and you'll take that back. He leaves, and I do my best to concentrate on the book in front of me and not the thought that he's about to be naked down the hall. All I have to do is be honest with him about how I feel, and I can have him, his body at least. But isn't that all I really had before? Ironic that it's my truthfulness that can put me out of my own misery when it's his candor I crave. I guess in that way we're alike, both wanting more than the other person is willing to risk. A few minutes later, he walks back in the room, and the room feels instantly smaller. Or maybe it's just the jump in my heart rate making it feel harder to breathe and not the lack of air. That was quick. I've only read another 20 pages or so, but I don't bother hiding the two books I need to return. It's not like he'd know which are mine and which are borrowed. The less I have to hide, the better. I could make so many innuendos, but I'll refrain. He tosses his things into his pack, then sinks into the armchair and leans forward, bracing his forearms on his spread knees. He picks a book up off the floor. Where are all the books from? You didn't have this many last year. Mostly from my old room in the main college. I skim the current page and sigh. This book is mostly scribe-centric stories about the Great War that are heavily redacted, and one vague passing about discovering the ability to extend the wards. I created them before Parapet, and thought my mother would have shipped them off to storage, but it appears she is more sentimental than Mira and I thought. They were right where I left them. I had been it had been a surprising discovery. Nothing had been touched in my old room, like I was expected back at any minute. Really, you should get some sleep. Justinia will be pissed if I miss her appointment. Colonel Daxton's Guide to Excelling in the Scribe Quadrant, he reads from the spine. That one wasn't as useful as I thought it would be the first time I read it. I joke. I would say not. He sets the book down, then tilts his head, reading the book I have open in front of me. The Journey of the First Six, a second-hand account. Yes, my pulse leaps, and my stomach gets the same weightless feeling that usually comes when Terran makes a steep dive. I should have hidden the damned books. Or maybe you want him to know, Terran interjects. Go, be busy. A class assignment? Zayden's eyes narrow when I don't answer. For research. For some reason, I can't fathom. I draw the line and outright lying to him. I don't remember anything about the first six being a tick of his jaw later. His gaze jumps to mine. You're hiding something from me. Shit, he knows, or he guesses. That was fast. Violet. It's practically a growl. He definitely knows. Why are you researching the first six? For Orisha. I shut the book. There's nothing in it that's going to help anyway. Zayden draws a deep breath and shadows extend from under the chair, rolling over his feet like a dark fog. For you, really. The admission is soft. He stills so completely that I'm not sure he's even breathing. Brennan told you we have a ward stone? His words are clipped, controlled. The shadows begin moving like hands, gathering all the books around me, but the one I'm holding and stacking them. I'm going to fucking kill him. Why? Because he's more forthcoming with me than you are? I close the book. Relax. It's not like he gave me your journal or something. I don't keep one, but that would have been far preferable, he snaps. Digging around for information on Navarre's most classified defenses will get you killed. Civilians are fleeing for our borders. No one in Navarre knows the truth, and Orisha needs to defend itself. To protect the people I'm guessing you're prepared to take in when Venom inevitably reach Tyrandor. I clutched the old tome to my chest. You are going to take people in, aren't you? Of course we are. Good. At least my faith isn't misplaced. I glance over my shoulder at the clock on my desk. 20 minutes until I have to return the book. But it's weapons that are going to defend Tyrandor. I beg to differ, and I'll keep researching until I figure out how the first six put these wards in place, so we can duplicate the process in Arisha. I tilt my chin at him. No one knows how it was originally done, only how to maintain them. He rises from the chair, and his shadows follow as he paces, a barometer of his mood, for his mood. It's a lost magic, and you can't deny that it was probably lost on purpose. Someone knows, I counter, tracking his movements. There's a chance. Sorry. There's a chance that someone didn't leave a record somewhere in case they fail. We aren't going to destroy the only thing that could save us. We would hide it, but we wouldn't destroy it. And how the hell do you propose finding that record without letting the scribes know what you're up to? He challenges, turning at the edge of my bed with his hands laced behind his neck and pinning me with a stare that might have sent me running last year. The click of my teeth is audible as I snap my mouth shut. He takes one deep breath, then another, closing his eyes. The book you're clutching like a newborn. It's not one of yours, is it? It's currently in my possession. Violet. I can practically feel him counting to 10 in his head for practice. Or for patience. Fine. I borrowed it from the archives. Are you really going to yell at me for trying to help? Who knows? The question is so soft that I almost wish he would just yell. He's always at his most lethal when he's calm like this. A friend? His eyes snap open. There's a reason we don't fuck around in the archives. That's the beating heart of the enemy. His gaze bores into mine. We don't have any friends there. Well, I do. I stand slowly, and I'm going to be late to return the book if I don't head down there now. So why don't you get some sleep while I'm coming with you. The hell you are. I slip the book into the borrowed bag. You'll scare her witless. I haven't told her anything about you or Risha or what's going on outside the borders. So relax. Go figure. He doesn't. She just knows you're researching classified materials. I'm not going to relax knowing that you've put yourself in danger. You're in danger every single day. Anger flushes my skin. Someone knocks on the door and he sighs before jerking it open. Oh, Rhiannon steps back, almost bumping into Riddick. I didn't realize you were here today, Lieutenant Ryerson. She glances over at me. Vi, we were going to ask if you wanted to come to Chantara with us. She's busy, Xaden responds, clasping my hand. Don't be an ass. I yank my hand from his. Whoa, Riddick's eyebrows rise as I turn towards Xaden. I've done exactly what you asked. I kept everything from my friends. I glare into the depths of his soul. So don't be an asshole to them. What exactly what I asked? He leans down, bringing his face within a breath of mine. By keeping your research a secret? My jaw drops. Are you really going to stand there and compare secrets with me? It's not the same, he winces. It's exactly the same. I grip the strap of my bag to keep from jabbing him in the chest with my finger. How fucking dare he? I'm researching the wards for you. Why do you think I'm so angry? The tension in his eyes, his posture, his tone equals mine. Because you don't like being on the other side of secrets. What the hell is going on? Sawyer asks from the hallway. Riddick scratches the top of his head. I think they're fighting. How long have you been hiding this from me? Xaden questions. They're not even speaking, Rhiannon mutters. I haven't hidden shit from you. I've simply told you selective truths. He draws back like I've hit him. Sorry, guys, I turn to my friends. Trust me, there's nothing I would rather do than go to Chantara with you, but unfortunately, I have to run an errand. Next weekend? You'll be in Samara. Xaden folds his arms across his chest. How is it possible to both love someone and loathe them all in the same moment? Rhiannon looks between the two of us, then settles her attention on me. Then the weekend after, she suggests quietly. I nod. Her brows knit in wordless question. I'm fine, I promise. You guys have a great time. I force a smile. I'll let you know if I need your help burying a body later. Riddick sputters into a cough, and Sawyer pounds him on the back. I think she might mean you, Rhiannon says as she gives Xaden an arch look. I'm certain she does. Let's go, Sawyer says, leading the three of them out of the doorway. I'll do it, too, Rhiannon says over her shoulder. I've never moved anything as big, or I'll do it, too. I've never moved anything as big as you, but I bet my signet could put you in the ground without even disturbing the dirt, if I'm pissed enough. She shoots a look at him before walking down the hallway. Xaden sighs and closes the door. You have some loyal friends. I do. I agree. Just remember you said that when it comes time to tell them what's going on under their noses. His answer is barely a grunt. I have to go. I'm pissed that you hid it from me, he interrupts, but I'm livid that you put your life at risk for me. That's not something I can handle. It's not a risk I can it's not a risk I can trust. I can trust her. I reach for the door handle, and he steps aside. His mouth tightens with anger, but it's the flash of fear in his eyes that makes me pause. If I had a way of knowing he was just a little safer in Samara, I would want it. Even if he's being an ass. Fine, you can come with me if you agree not to scare her. I can't control her feelings, he scoffs. I arch a single brow. I just want to meet her. He lifts his hands, palms outward. So you can see if she's trustworthy by looking at her? Sorry. Alright, sorry. Even you aren't that powerful. I open the door and step out into the hallway. Let's go. I know I'm an incredible judge of character. He walks out after me, pulling the door closed. Your ego really is boundless. We start down the hall and turn right into the central corridor. And just because I'm letting you come doesn't mean I'm not still pissed at you. Same. He puts his hand on the small of my back when we pass a group of cadets. You don't have to touch me, for them to think you have a reason to be here. Everyone knows that we what? You've been pretty damned clear that we're not together. Wait, is that hurt in his voice? I hate the way my ire dulls. It's easier to live in the anger. We head down the central staircase, winding our way past the ground floor, where most cadets branch off and into the sublevel of the quadrant. It's a maze of tunnels down here, but I know my way well enough. Yeah, you would never sit here and do nothing when you could help. Asking me to do differently is just insulting. I whisper to him once I know we're alone in the tunnels. I'm smart enough to handle myself in the archives. I never said you weren't brilliant. I never even said your plan wasn't brilliant. I said you're putting yourself in danger, and I'm just asking you to be honest with me. Mage lights flicker on as we make our way toward the covered bridge that spans the canyon between the Writers' Quadrant and the main college. Varish pushed you to near fucking burnout, and you didn't tell me that either. His jaw works. Or that you wielded in the middle of the courtyard after battle brief. How did you know? I hadn't mentioned Varish in the letter I'd left for him. You didn't think Bodhi would tell me? His shadows stream forward, opening the door, and we head across the enclosed bridge. I don't think I'll ever get used to the casual way he uses his power. I hoped he wouldn't, I admit. That's the shit you need to tell me, Violet. Oh, sorry. What what would you have done? Flown back here and killed him? He's the vice commandant. I debated it. He opens the next set of doors the same way. Bodhi has miraculously found reasons for our squad to miss maneuvers, I tell him, as we walk into the main campus passing the infirmary. And how long is that going to work? We're twice as likely to find a solution if you tell me what's going on. Zayden's head snaps forward and he grabs me by the waist, stopping in the middle of the hallway. But we've already been seen. Put your shields up. It's Nolan, I point out, but raise them anyway as guilt nips at me for letting them fall in the first place. I keep hoping for a moment Zayden promises. Keep hoping for the moment Zayden promises is coming, where it's second nature. But so far, it's maximum effort to keep them in place. Nolan? My jaw drops at how much weight the mender has lost. His skin hangs as loosely as his black uniform. His eyes are missing their usual spark when he tries to smile at me. Violet, it's good to see you. He glances at Zayden, his gaze falling to the arm wrapped protectively around my waist. Did you draw back because you're under the assumption that I'm going to harm the young woman I've been mending for the last 6 years, Ryerson? Or is it that you think no one knows that the two of you spend your time together on the days either of you has leave? Because I assure you, I would never endanger Violet. And everyone already knows. I step out of Zayden's arm. Whoop. I step out of Zayden's arms. What are you doing standing in the middle of the hallway? You look like you're ready to drop. You're on it with the compliments today. Clearly, I need better shield if it's that easy for Zayden to slip in again. Waiting for someone. Nolan scratches a few days' growth of beard on his jaw. And I suppose I could use some rest. It's hard work mending a soul. Been at it for months now. His smile lifts on one side, but I can't tell if he's joking or not. You've been well so far this year. I haven't been called to mend you. I'm all right. I subluxated my shoulder a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if he's as close to Varish as my friends have hypothesized. The thought gives me pause and keeps me from mentioning the burnout. And I've been really good about keeping my knees wrapped. No broken bones yet, either. Good, Nolan nods as the door behind us opens. That's good. I'm here. Caroline Ashton races forward, passing us on the left. I'm sorry I'm late. Punctuality is appreciated, Nolan lectures her before looking my way. Do us both a favor and stay healthy, Violet. I will, I promise. Caroline shoots me a quick glare in my direction, and they disappear into the infirmary, the door closing softly behind them. She didn't look hurt, I note as Zayden and I start towards the archives again. No, she didn't, Zayden agrees. Must be visiting another cadet from First Wing. Nolan looks like he's about to burn out himself. Have there been any more injuries than usual? Not that I'm aware of. Riddick thinks they're using Nolan for interrogations. My face crinkles, but I'm not sure if he was serious or not. It's hard to tell with Riddick. That's all he has to say as we descend the tunnels, slanting downward toward the lowest point of Bisgayeth. The deeper we go, the cooler the air becomes, and the sharper a pang I recognize of grief resonates in my chest. What are you thinking? Your face just fell, Zayden notes quietly as we pass by the stairs that lead up to the main campus. Nothing. You can't expect more than one-word answers from me and not give the same. He has a point. My father loved this place. He was ecstatic when my mother was assigned here because it meant that he could have the full resources of the archives. I smile at the memory. Not that he didn't love maintaining the records and libraries at the outpost we were stationed at, but to a scribe, this place is the pinnacle of a career. It's their temple. We round the last curve, bringing the vault-style door into view. The circular entrance is 10 feet across and guarded by a singular scribe, who's asleep in his chair. A well-guarded one. Xaden shoots a disgusted look at the sleeping scribe. Promise me you'll be on your best behavior. I grip his elbow so he knows I mean it. She's an old friend. So was Atos. I narrow my eyes. If she is a true friend, then she has nothing to worry about. Look, if she was going to turn me in, she would have done it when I requested the Fables of the Baron last year. I tell him as we cross into the archives. You what? His jaw flexes, and he breathes deeply when we reach the table. The archives are empty again. Thank Xennial. But that's why Justinia chose Saturdays. Before Mira gave me the book at Monster, I requested it, but I didn't think anything of it at the time. But no one showed up at my door. No one hauled me off and divested me of my head because we are friends. He remains silent as Justinia approaches, her gaze widening as she looks between us. Her steps slow. He's with me, I sign, offering her a smile. Stop scaring her. I'm just standing here. That's enough, trust me. Did you find what you were looking for? She signs back, nervously biting her lips, her focus darting to Xaden. No. I hand the bag over to her, and she slings the strap over her shoulder. They're all too recent and vague. Her lips purse in thought. Maybe we should shift to something about the history of wards in general, I suggest. Give me a couple of minutes, I have an idea. Thank you for helping us, Xaden signs. Justinia nods, then it disappears into the rows of bookshelves. You can sign? I whisper at him. You speak Tirish, he replies. One is far less common than the other. We stand there in awkward silence, our arguments still festering. At least on my part, I never know how he's feeling, which is one of our problems. By using that one word with Justinia, us, he's linked himself to me. If she turns me in, he'll be dragged down too. Try these two, Justinia signs when she returns, then handing over the bag. Also, I returned yours. Thank you for letting me read it. What do you think about it? I ask, unnervingly aware that Xaden is watching. Whatever she says next will seal her fate with him. Solid folklore with good stories. She tilts her head to the side. It was a limited printing, clearly done on a press, but not so limited that there wouldn't have been one submitted to the archives at publication. The look she gives me is full of expectation. It's an odd subject matter to leave out of the archives, don't you think? I swallow hard. I do. Xaden tenses behind me. As I said, she continues, intriguing. I'll see you Saturday after next. I nod, and we leave after thanking her again, passing Nasaya, who has started to snore in his seat. We're halfway through the tunnels before Xaden speaks. Tell me what other book is in the bag. Guess the argument is still festering inside him too. It's the Fables of the Baron. There's no point lying to him. You gave that to her? Why? Xaden's head slants in my direction, and he stops in the middle of the tunnel, grasping my elbow gently as fear flashes in his eyes. I loaned it to her, and because she asked. With that text, she should have turned you in. Anger burns in his eyes. And if I report that she's not recording my requests, she'll be at Markham's mercy. I grip the strap of the bag a little tighter. Trust has to go both ways to mean anything. Both ways? But you're shutting me out while I'm trying my damnedest to open up to you. Says the man who's never so much as told me he loves me. If he does... Oh my god, I hate that. Because he actually has. Sorry. If he does, gods, I'm so sick of having to make the first move when it comes to this man. And today isn't the day to open myself up to that rejection too. Sure, as long as you can keep your secrets. Has it ever occurred to you that this, I gesture between us, is all because you don't trust me? I take a step backward. You expect complete blind faith without giving it. It goes both ways. I'm the one who doesn't trust you. Shadows curl around his ankles, following him as he pivots, heading up the tunnel. I'll see you later. I have to find Bodhi. He's heading off on a revolution business, no doubt, and leaving me behind again. That's all you have to say? I call out, frustration locking my muscles. No good can come of things I want to say right now, Violet, he says over his shoulder. So, instead of digging a deeper hole with words I'll regret later, I'm going to take some space and do something productive because this isn't, because this isn't. It's on the tip of my tongue to tell him that he doesn't get to choose when we have a fight. But he asked for space, and I can do the mature thing and give it to him. When I wake in the morning, the other half of my bed hasn't been slept in, and his things are gone. I can't stop my chest from tightening at the thought that he's headed back to the front lines, that either of us could be killed at any moment, and the last words we said to each other were in anger. Alrighty. That is the end of chapter 18 and the end of today's reading. So, alright, guys. So with that, we're calling it quits for today. And, yeah, so, yeah, we are calling it for today. And, since today is Sunday and the last stream of 2024, let me see if I could turn this down a little bit. There we go. We will call it there today, and I will see you all again on January 4th for more, for reading. The next reading session will be January 4th, where we will be reading chapters 19 to 24. Wait, no. Yeah, sorry. 19 to 24. But I hope you guys have a wonderful time. I'm gonna do something I don't normally do for those on Twitch. And yeah, well, I will see you all again some other time. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful New Year's, and I'll see you in the new year.